Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
King and Queen of the Pirates by Bleach Anime Fan 1. Once there was a legendary pirate by the name of Goldie Roger. Before he died, he had left a treasure at a place called One Piece. However, many pirates from all over the world has set sail to find it. Monkey D. Luffy and his twin sister Monkey D. Aya promised themselves that they will be the ones to find it and become king and queen of the pirates. Adios.
A couple of days has passed as the four sailed in the seas, heading towards their next destination. Nami frowned. "There's no way we can get to the Grand Line with these conditions." She spoke in a serious tone. Zoro, Luffy, and Aya turned to her. Zoro was resting as he laid against the boat while Luffy was sitting at the front with his legs crossed, eating an apple. "You're right. We need some meat," said Luffy as he finished his apple, eating the core. "Yeah, and a little booze wouldn't hurt either," added Zoro. "And some sweets. I wouldn't mind some sugar too," said Aya, happily. "I need some energy." Luffy quickly turned to her with a horrified look on his face. "Absolutely not. You're not getting any. Do you remember what happened last time when you ate sugar? It was scary," he said, shuddering. Zoro raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" he asked, as a small smirk appeared on his lips. Luffy leaned in and whispered into his ear. "When Aya's hopped up on sugar, she becomes so hyper she's basically a sugar demon and hard to catch. One time she actually stripped off her clothes." Zoro's eyes widened in shock as he quickly looked at Aya as his cheeks turned red. It's bad enough keeping track of Luffy, but he didn't need another energetic monster running around. "You're not getting any. Get something else, instead," he stammered, still blushing. Aya pouted. "But I want sugar," she said as she crossed her arms, puffing her cheeks angrily. Nami frowned as she tossed an apple into the air, catching it with her hand. "That's not what I mean. The Grand Line's a dangerous place. We need more than beer and meat. There are other pirates who want the One Piece and they have way better ships than ours," she explained. "You're right. We still need a crew. Like a cook and maybe even a musician to keep us entertained," said Luffy. "A musician?" asked Zoro, laughing. Nami sighed as she reread her map. These three are driving her crazy. "Let's see. If we head south, we should be able to reach a group of islands. It looks like we can get a ship and the supplies we need there, too," she explained. Luffy's eyes sparkled as his mouth watered. "Woohoo, fresh meat," he cheered happily, raising his hands into the air. "Ton of booze, too," added Zoro, "and sugar." Aya quickly pitched in. Zoro and Luffy quickly looked at her. "No," shouted the two of them. "Is that all you three think about? What am I going to do with you?" Nami sighed. Meanwhile, on the island there was a tiny village known as Syrup Village. It was a quiet and peaceful town. "Run! Pirates are coming! Pirates are coming! Run if you want to live! They'll be here any minute now!" a voice shouted. A slim man with black curly hair, tanned skin, and a very long nose, wearing brown overalls and checkered bandana and boots, ran through the village, screaming out loud. "Run! They're just off the shore. Their bloodlust is unquenchable," he shouted. The young man stopped and panted, trying to catch his breath. After he regained his breath, the young man threw his head back and laughed. "Lie, ha, ha, ha," he laughed. A frying pan came flying towards him and hit the dark curly-haired man on the head. He groaned as he held it in pain. That hurt. The villagers came out of their homes glaring at the young man with an annoyed look on their faces. "You little liar. You're not going to get away this time," shouted a man, holding a broom as he climbed out the window of his home. Another man kicked open their door holding a broom as well. "We've had enough." Then another man burst open his door holding a frying pan. "This little game is over." Then all the doors of each house busted open as more people came out holding weapons, charging after the young man. The young man's whole body shook with anticipation as the villagers advanced closer towards him. "Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it," he mumbled. As they got closer, he immediately runs off, laughing in delight. "Just try and catch me. said the man as he ran towards the woods, running deeper into it until he was out of the villagers' sights. The villagers followed after him, but they couldn't find him. "His man, looks like he got away again," said one of them. "That boy has been causing nothing but trouble," said another villager. Soon, they gave up their search and went back to their homes. As the villagers walked off, high in the tree, sitting on a branch, was the young man. He snickered as he watched them leave. He leaned back, resting on the base of the tree, feeling the gentle breeze of air blow through his hair and the sun warming him. Today was a good day, again. I've helped add some excitement to this boring village. "Hey, there he is," shouted a voice. The long-nosed man looked down to see two boys. One was a freckled boy with short, spiky purple hair, wearing a red hat with a Jolly Roger on it. He was wearing a black sweater, a sash, light brown pants and dark brown shoes. The other boy had dark green hair which was shaped like a pepper. He was wearing a light green shirt with the same Jolly Roger on the front. He was also wearing a sash, dark blue pants, and dark shoes. "The Usopp pirates have arrived," said Pepper as he raised his wooden sword. "Pepper, Carrot, is it just you guys? Where's Onion?" asked Usopp. Then suddenly the three heard a loud screech as they looked to see a kid came running towards them, screaming his lungs off. The boy had straight brown hair and glasses. He was wearing a yellow shirt with a blue jacket, a sash as well, dark brown pants and black shoes. He had a terrified look on his face. "Ah, they're here, they'll kill us all," screamed Onion. "It's Onion," said Carrot. "I wonder what he's freaking out about," asked Pepper. "Pirates are here. There's a boat heading towards our village," screamed Onion as he ran up to them. "Come on, quit playing," said Usopp with a disbelief look on his face. "I'm not playing," shouted Onion as he shook his head. "It's true, pirates are really here." It's for real?" asked Usopp, nervously. Onion nodded his head. "Yes, it's for real. They're here." Then Usopp turned around and began to sprint off. "What? Gotta go," he shouted. "You chicken," shouted the three boys at the same. "Actually, I'm sick. I don't feel good, you liar." "Sir, you always told us that you wanted to be a real pirate one day. Now's our chance," asked Carrot. Usopp flinched. He had always wanted to be a pirate, but to go against other pirates? Fight them? It's suicide? What's with you? What kind of pirate is afraid of other pirates? "I saw Buggy's flag," said Onion. Usopp began to shake, nervously. "Be Buggy the Clown?" "He is," nervously. "The most crazy and bloodthirsty pirate on the seas." No way. There was no way that he was going to face him. "But, I only saw two tiny boats. And there were only 4 people. 2 girls and 2 guys," Onion continued. Usopp quickly turned around facing the 3 boys. "Okay, men, let's go and beat the crap out of those no-good pirates. We got a village to protect. Let's go, move out," he shouted as he ran towards the shore. "Sir," shouted the 3 boys as they followed after their captain. As Usopp arrived at the shore, he and the 3 boys started setting up their plan. As they finished, Hello saw the 2 boats slowly approaching. He quickly told the 3 boys to hide as he took cover in the bushes. He pulled down his goggles to examine the pirates that were advancing closely towards the shore. He saw a boy wearing a straw hat, a man with green moss-colored hair carrying swords, a girl with orange-colored hair. Then he turned his attention was drawn towards another girl with long black hair. He was taken back by her beauty as he stared at her seafoam-colored green eyes. Usopp felt his heart started to skip a beat. It was like he was staring at a goddess of the sea. The 2 boats made it to the island. Luffy, Nami, Zoro, and Aya climbed out and stretched their legs after being on the seas for a couple days. Luffy grinned widely as he stepped off. He could taste the meat already. High with anticipation, Zoro yawned and stretched his arms. "Ah," said Zoro. "Feels good to be on dry land again." He was keeping a close watch on the Straw Hat Captain, knowing that Luffy could run off. "There's a town close by, right?" asked Aya. She saw a small narrow path that looked like a trail going up a rocky cliff. "Yeah, but it's a small one though," said Nami, rereading her map. "Then that means there's meat here. Yay, real food for once," exclaimed Luffy. "What do you mean real food?" asked Aya. "What about the fruit salad I fixed you?" "No offense, Aya. "But your cooking sucks," said Luffy. Half of the fruits were smashed to a pulp. A vein appeared on Aya's head and she whacked Luffy on the side of his head with her fist. "Fine then. Next time I won't cook for you even if you beg me to," said Aya. "No, I'm sorry, too late," said Aya as she turned her back, looking away from her brother. "You don't have to get all huffy about it. Why do you have to be so mean?" whined Luffy. He felt his stomach growling and rubbed it. "Man, I'm so hungry." "Quit thinking about food for once, will ya?" hissed Nami, annoyed. Zoro yawned again until he heard a sudden rustle from within the bushes above them. He gripped his sword handle tightly, on alert. "Careful. We're being watched," muttered Zoro. Luffy froze and widely looked around excitedly. "Who? What? Where? Is there any meat?" he asked. Luffy walked closer to Zoro to see where he was looking at. Suddenly, something launched out from the darkness of the woods, heading towards the group. "Look out!" yelled Zoro. He quickly moved out of the way as a small pellet landed near Luffy's feet. The more shot out from the bushes and Luffy dodged out of the way. Suddenly, flags were raised out from the bushes, surrounding the Straw Hat Pirates. "Whoa, this is so cool," Luffy laughed. His eyes darted around the area. Then they heard someone laughing out loud above them. The four looked up and saw Usopp, holding onto a pirate flag he planted next to him. Luffy and Aya stared at him. "He reminds me of someone," thought Aya to herself. She looked at the young man, scanning his features until her eyes widened in recognition. Could he be Usopp's son? "Ha, ha, ha. It was wrong of you pirates to show up in my village. I am the great Captain Usopp of the Usopp Pirates, and me and my 80 million men will take you out," said Usopp. Nami rolled her eyes at his speech. Aya stared, unimpressed. "Awesome," exclaimed Luffy. Aya shook her head. Honestly, her brother can be so stupid sometimes. Then she looked up at Usopp and glared at him. "Hey, you think we're buying this? 80 million men, my ass," shouted Aya. Usopp began to feel his confidence slowly slip away from him, and soon panic began to flood through his entire body. He flinched from her gaze and stepped back, nervously. "She knows," stammered Usopp, nervously. "What, he was lying?" asked Luffy, confused. "Honestly, how dense can you be?" said Aya, shaking her head as she sighed. "And no matter. 80 million men ma have been an exaggeration, but I great men under my control," said Usopp, trying not to panic. The flags began to wave and shake from the bushes. Aya smirked. "Let me guess, there's 3 of them, right?" she asked. "Ah, she knows," screamed Pepper, Onion, and Carrot. They dropped the flags and ran away, heading towards the village, leaving Usopp. "Hey, where are you guys going? Get back here," Usopp called out desperately to them. He took a step back when he saw Nami step up and picked up the small pellet from Luffy's feet. "A pirate using a slingshot, huh?" she mumbled to herself, examining the metal ball. "Now I've seen it all." Luffy laughed, a little impressed. "Ha, ha, ha. That was pretty cool," he giggled. His laugh only managed to anger Usopp, and he growled. "Shut your mouth or I'll shut it for you. I'm a proud man and I won't stand for it. This is your last warning. Now, you'll see why they call me Proud Usopp. Not Pushover Usopp. Is that clear?" Usopp pulled out his green slingshot and, armed with a bullet, and aimed at Luffy. The Straw Hat Captain grinned. "You've already seen how good I am with this thing. So you know, I can rival any pistol," Usopp continued. Luffy tipped his hat, covering his eyes. "Now that you've drawn your gun, are you willing?" he said coldly, and lifted his head to reveal one eye, with a mischievous smirk on his lips. "To use it?" Usopp froze at his expression. "Guns aren't for threats, they're for action. Are you willing to risk your life?" Luffy continued. Zoro stared at the captain, surprised by his behavior, then realized what he was doing and played along. He smirked and walked up to Luffy, pulling out one of his swords. Zoro gave Usopp a sinister look on his face. "I can assure you, we're real pirates. Consider your next move very carefully." Usopp began to sweat bullets uncontrollably. Then he dropped the metal ball and fell to his knees. "Man, real pirates are so cool. They have action to back up their words. You guys really are pirates," he moped, shaking his head. Luffy and Zoro looked at each other before the two of them laughed. Luffy bent over, giggling as he held his stomach. I stole those lines, he laughed. Usopp looked at him confused and blinked. Huh? I stole those words from red-haired Shanks, a pirate I know, explained Luffy. What? You know red-haired Shanks? You're lying, right? You actually knew him? Asked Usopp in disbelief. Luffy smiled and nodded happily. Yep. And me and my sister also know your dad. His name is Usopp, right? He asked. Usopp gasped in shock at his father's name and lost his balance, falling off the cliff and landing on the ground. Aya cringed. Are you alright? Yeah. I'm okay. Usopp groaned. My old man's name is Usopp. How do you know him? He asked as he sat up. I'll tell you, but first, let's grab some meat. I'm starving, said Luffy. Do you know where we can get something to eat? Usopp led the four to the restaurant in the village and ordered food. My sister and I met your dad when we were just little kids, said Luffy as he took a sip of his drink. Hold on, so my old man really knows Shanks? Asked Usopp, excitedly. Luffy nodded and took a bite from his meat. Know him? Last time we saw him he was running around with Shanks' crew. They seemed like really good friends. I can't believe it. My old man sailing the seas with famous pirates. Your dad talked about you constantly. It was kind of annoying, actually, added Aya. Luffy made a mischievous grin. Yeah, he would constantly try to ask Aya, trying to set up an arranged marriage between you two. He smirked. Usopp blushed as he looked at Luffy stunned. Aya's mouth dropped and she looked at Luffy with a shocked look on her face. Why did you have to tell him that part? 'Cause it's true, said Luffy as he blinked. But you didn't have to tell him that. Luffy laughed as Aya hit him. He looked at Usopp. Your dad was a hell of a sharp shooter. He once told me that he could shoot off an antennae from an ant a mile away. He was a great pirate. I sure am proud of my old chose a pirate's life on the endless seas full of risks and real adventures. Usopp sighed happily. Then maybe you can help us, asked Nami. What do you mean? Asked Usopp, turning to Navigator. Do you know anyone in this village who can help provide us with a larger ship? Asked Nami. Sorry, no, Usopp said, sadly. Well, it's a pretty small village, there's no way I can help you. What about that mansion? Asked Zoro. Usopp cringed. Zoro gestured outside the window, pointing towards a giant house. On top of that hill over there. Do you know them, Usopp? Asked Nami when she saw Usopp twitch. Maybe they can help us get a ship. You stay away from there, shouted Usopp, jumping to his feet. Everyone looked at him surprised. Aya looked at him, confused. Is there something wrong with that place? She asked. Aya saw Usopp twitch again. Then he turned to her, staring at her for a minute. He shook his head. I just hing to do, I got to go, he shouted as he took off running, leaving the group. Don't worry about the bill. I've already talked with the owner, he's a good friend of mine, see ya. I wonder why he was in such a hurry to get out of here? Asked Nami. Luffy, Aya and Zoro shrugged and continued eating their meals. On top of the hill there was a mansion that was heavily guarded. It had a large garden with flowers. Inside one of the rooms, there was a young girl sitting in her bed, hugging a pillow to her chest. She was slim, with very light skin and complexion as if she didn't go out much, and blonde hair. However, she wasn't alone in the room. Next to her was a man that stood in the farthest corner, watching her. He was slim and tall man with glasses and green-black hair that was neatly combed back. He also wore a black suit with 2 yellow garnishments on it over a white shirt and black tie and stripped shoes. He was her butler, Klahadore. You want to see him again, Miss Kaya? Klahadore sighed. I like talking to him, said Kaya, softly. Klahadore sighed and readjusted his glasses. That man is without a doubt a chronic liar, he said. He will do you no good. But Klahadore interrupted her. Before your parents passed, they've entrusted me with your well-being, he said firmly as he readjusted his glasses, again. I cannot go against their wishes. Kaya sighed and looked down sadly as she hugged the pillow to her chest. I leave your medicine right here. Please take it, Miss Kaya, said Klahadore as he placed a tied-up package, sitting on the tray as he sat it on the desk. Then he walked out of the room. Killjoy, mumbled Kaya, softly. Killjoy, indeed. But, my answer is still no, said Klahadore as he left, shutting the door. Usopp managed to sneak past the guards as he used his secret passage, pulling out a piece of the hedge. He climbed through it and climbed up a tree that was next to Kaya's room. He tossed a small pebble at the window, catching the girl's attention. She turned and saw and opened the window, smiling, happy to see him. "Usopp, you came," she said. "Of course, I did. You seem a little down, what's up?" said Usopp as he seated himself on the branch. "I'm sorry, I want to treat you as a guest but Klahadore won't allow it." Kaya sighed, sadly. "He's not a bad person, though." "Don't sweat it. I'm a brave warrior of the seas after all," said Usopp as he waved her off, grinning. The two of them laughed. "So what story are you going to tell me, today?" asked Kaya. Let's see. How about the time I fought a goldfish at the South Pole when I was only 7 years old?" "A goldfish?" asked Kaya in disbelief. "A giant goldfish," Usopp told her. "I thought that I landed on an island, but it wasn't an island, it was its poop that I was stepping on," he said and gave Kaya a disgusted look, grinning. The two laughed, enjoying their time together. Back at the restaurant, Luffy, Zoro, and Aya were enjoying their meals and drinks. But, just outside, 3 kids, Pepper, Onion and Carrot were watching them. "That's them," confirmed Pepper. "Let's go and save our captain," hissed Onion. "The Usopp pirates have arrived," screamed the 3 of them as they kicked open the door of the restaurant. Luffy, Zoro, Aya, and Nami looked at them startled as they came in. "Who are these kids?" asked Nami. "Hey pirates, what did you do to our beloved captain, Usopp?" shouted Pepper as he pointed his wooden sword towards them. "Careful, brat. You could put your eye out with that thing," said Aya as she moved it away. "Where is our captain?" screamed Onion and Carrot in a demanding tone. Luffy took a sip of his drink, ignoring them. "Ah, that meat was so good," he sighed happily as rubbed his stomach. "Meat?" the 3 kids stammered nervously as they huddled together. What have you done with our captain, you savages?" asked Pepper as the 3 kids began to shake and sweat, nervously with dread. Zoro grinned, enjoying the look on their faces as they were terrified. "We ate him," he said sinisterly. The 3 boys screamed and looked at Nami terrified. "Cannibals, why are you looking at me?" yelled Nami as she slammed her fist down on Pepper's head, causing a bump. Zoro laughed, covering his eyes with his hand. "You really had us going there." Pepper sighed in relief. The 3 boys led Luffy, Zoro, Nami and Aya to the mansion that was on top of the hill. "Whoa, this place is huge," said Luffy as he looked at the mansion in awe. "If you're looking for our captain, then this is the place he's going to be," said Onion. "Why didn't he tell us that he knew them?" asked Aya. "Because he's a liar," said Carrot. "That's terrible," scolded Nami. "He's not a bad guy. He's great," said Pepper. "Yeah, he's awesome," replied Onion. "How's a liar awesome?" questioned Zoro. "Well, Kaya, the girl who lives there is under a terrible depression ever since her parents died a year ago. So Captain Usopp tells her a special made-up story to make her laugh and cheer her up," explained Pepper. "Well, that's kind of nice of him," said Luffy, smiling. "Yeah," said Onion, nodding. "So when he tells her his stories, he makes her feel better?" asked Nami in disbelief. The 3 boys nodded their heads happily. "Yeah, we should ask her for a ship," suggested Luffy. "It won't be easy. There's guards at the gates," explained Pepper. They all turned to see that Luffy was gone. They turned their heads back to see Luffy walking up towards the gates. "I'll go ask her," suggested Luffy. "Luffy, you're not going to," shouted Zoro, before Luffy stretched his arms, grabbing the top of the fence. "He is," shouted Aya. Gum, Luffy started. "Ah, he's a monster," screamed the 3 boys as they watched in fear. "No normal person could do that." "Rocket," shouted Luffy. Zoro, Nami and Aya grabbed onto the Straw Hat Captain. "No, Luffy," shouted the 3 of them as they tried to stop him. But it was too late, as Luffy had launched all of them over the fence, sending them all flying into the sky, screaming. "Then we threw a huge pinball down from the sky, scaring them away. That's how we won," said Usopp as he finished his story. Kaya clapped her hands, happily. Then she saw something in the sky. "What's that?" she asked, pointing to the sky. Usopp turned around and looked up to see where she was pointing it to see Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Aya falling as they began to descend too fast, heading towards him. "Hey, Luffy called out. Usopp screamed in surprise as they all landed into the ground. Luckily, Nami and Aya had landed in the bushes, as it cushioned their landing. But, as for Zoro and Luffy, not too much. Zoro and Luffy had landed on the hard stone pathway face first. Zoro was groaning in pain as Luffy sat up, rubbing his head. "That worked well," said Luffy, smiling. "Yeah, real well," shouted Nami, sarcastically as she glared angrily at the Straw Hat Captain. "We could have found another way in, idiot," added Aya. "Next time, say something before you decide to do something like that," she growled. Luffy smiled sheepishly. "Oh my goodness, are you okay?" asked Kaya, worried. "Don't mind them, Kaya. They do this all the time. They're just new recruits," said Usopp, nervously. "We only just met," commented Aya, smiling. Usopp turned to her. "Shut up," he hissed softly. "Why are you even here? I told you guys not to come." Luffy stood up looking at Kaya. "Actually, I came here to see you," he said, politely. "I wanted to ask you a favor." "A favor? From me?" questioned Kaya as she blinked, confused. I was wondering if there was any way you could help us get a boat," but, before Luffy could finish, he was interrupted. "You there, what do you think you are doing?" a harsh voice called out. Everyone looked to see the butler walking towards them. "Klahadore," whispered Kaya. Klahadore glared at everyone, angrily. He readjusted his glasses. "Get out. I'll have you know that this is criminal trespassing," he said. Usopp flinched as he saw him and quickly hid out of his as he walked up to the group. Aya glared at him. She didn't like this man, not one bit. "Who the hell are you?" she asked. "Actually, Klahadore, these people are." "Not now, Kaya. You can tell me all about these riffraff after they've left. Now get out, all of you. Leave now, unless you have business with me," said Klahadore, sternly, silencing the young girl, then adjusted his glasses. "Oh, do you think you can help us get a ship?" asked Luffy. "Certainly not." Klahadore dismissed Luffy. Luffy frowned, disappointed. Then Klahadore looked up at the tree next to Kaya's room. "Usopp," he called out. Usopp jumped as he was startled, nearly losing his balance as he hanged upside down from the tree. "Crap," he cursed under his breath. "I hear that you're a pirate," said Klahadore. "Sure, I am," said Usopp as he climbed up back on the branch, chuckling. "I hear that you've been on many adventures. Quite impressive for someone as young as you," asked Klahadore, doubtfully. "I'm actually a captain, so it's Captain Usopp to you," said Usopp as he climbed on a branch, standing on it, and chuckled. "A captain?" Klahadore snickered as he pushed up his glasses. "Your father also had some kind of reputation. A no-good filthy pirate," he said, smirking. Usopp glared angrily at the butler. "What?" he scowled, gritting his teeth. His hands were shaking in fury. Kaya gasped. Aya shot the butler a dirty glare. "Who does this guy think he is?" thought Aya to herself. "Klahadore, please just stop," she ordered, but Klahadore ignored her. "You're never going to be nothing more than the son of a filthy pirate. Who knows what sort of trouble he's doing now? All I ask is that you and your kind leave this respectable young lady alone," said Klahadore. "A filthy pirate," growled Usopp. "You and her live in completely different worlds and you know it. Is it money you're after? How much do you want?" "That's enough, Klahadore. Apologize to him," yelled Kaya, angrily. Usopp stared at her, surprised by her outburst. "Hey, calm down, Kaya," he said, worried, seeing that Kaya was leaning out a little too far out the window. He was scared that she was going to fall out of it. "I don't have any reason to apologize to him. My goal isn't to slander, only just to prove a point," said Klahadore, looking at Usopp. "I feel sorry for you. You hate your father, don't you? Because your idiot father abandoned his family for the seas and mindless lust for treasure." Klahadore pressed more. "Klahadore, stop," shouted Kaya. "Don't you dare insult my father ever again," shouted Usopp. Then he jumped down from the tree branch. "Usopp," Kaya called out, startled. Then she saw that a hook was secured on the branch as Usopp slid down. She sighed in relief and Usopp landed on the ground and the hook unlatched itself from the branch and went back into Usopp's satchel. "What has gotten you so worked up, Usopp?" asked Klahadore as he pushed up his glasses. "It's times like these that you do what you do best. Why not lie and tell her about how your father became a traveling salesman? Or that you have nothing to do with him, that you're not even related? Or how about your mother, crack? Everyone gasped in shock as Usopp punched Klahadore, knocking the butler to the ground. See, he resorts to violence. I guess the apple never falls far from the tree, does it? Klahadore babbled. Shut up, shouted Usopp. Klahadore flinched. My father listened to his heart and chose a life of risk and adventure. I am proud to say that my old man is a brave warrior of the seas. I will never lie about who my father is. I refuse to be ashamed of my heritage. I am the son of a pirate, Usopp declared loudly. Klahadore snorted. Pirates are brave warriors of the seas, are they? Don't make me laugh, he asked as he got up, dusting off his suit. It's bad enough that you run around spatting lies. But the real reason that you want to be close to Miss Kaya is because of her money. You're wrong. Your father is a filthy no-good pirate. Treachery is in your blood, shouted Klahadore, angrily. You just won't let up, will you? Shouted Usopp. He grabbed the butler by his suit, getting ready to punch him again. Stop it, Usopp, please, begged Kaya. Immediately, Usopp paused and hesitantly lowered his fist. He turned to Kaya. No more fighting. I can't take it. Klahadore isn't a bad person. He's only doing what he thinks is best for me, but sometimes he can go too far. Are you kidding me? Shouted Aya, angrily. Kaya jumped as she was startled and turned and looked at the sea foam-eyed girl in shock. So did everyone else, surprised by her outburst. Luffy blinked as he watched silently. Aya stepped up, but Zoro tried to hold her back. Don't get involved. This has nothing to do with you, he said as he placed a hand on her shoulder. But Aya shrugged it off. Then she looked up at Kaya, giving her a harsh stare. The blonde hair girl shivered, feeling a chill run through her body. Is there something wrong? Asked Kaya, nervously. You say that you're owner of this place, correct? Questioned Aya. Kaya smiled. Yes, but, Aya interrupted her. Then why are you letting this punk walk all over you? You're the boss, aren't you? Why are you letting him do this to you? He's supposed to take orders from you, not the other way around. Are you freaking stupid or freaking dumb? Shouted Aya. Kaya stared at the sea foam-eyed girl with wide eyes, completely speechless, as she was stunned with shock. Klahadore glared. Man, she's scary, thought Usopp to himself. That is enough, I do want to hear another word out of you. Lady Kaya is not well enough to decide things on her own. You're making it worse as it is, encouraging her to do so. So stay out of our affairs, shouted Klahadore. Bullshit, shouted Aya. But she was held back by Nami and Zoro as they grabbed her, holding her arms. Aya struggled, but their grip was too strong. Stop, you're making things worse for us, muttered Zoro. Honestly, you're like this idiot, always rushing things recklessly, hissed Nami, as she jerked her thumb over her shoulder, gesturing to Luffy. A dark shadow casted over Aya's face. Zoro cringed. Then, Aya slowly turned her head, looking at Nami. Do you want to feel how hard I can punch? Threatened Aya. Nami slapped Aya on the back of her head. Zoro's eyes widened. Luffy cringed. This is not going well. What did you say to me? Shouted Nami. Aya smirked. You heard me. You and me, right now. Let's go. Luffy and Zoro tried to hold the girls back. Aya, no, we need a navigator, begged Luffy as he and Zoro tried to pry the girls apart from trying to kill each other as they tried to throw punches. As the group were arguing, Klahadore looked at Usopp. And as for you, I want you to leave this place. You are never to come here, again, said Klahadore, coldly. Yeah, I get it. You don't have to tell me twice. This is the last that you'll ever see of me, said Usopp. He walked past the butler, not even looking at him, leaving the garden. Hey, you butler jerk. Our captain is not that kind of guy, Carrot called out. Klahadore looked and saw the three boys as they climbed over the hedge and ran over to the group, glaring angrily at the butler. Jerkface. The three boys shouted. Jerkface, shouted Luffy as well. Zoro whacked him on the head. Stay out of it, muttered Zoro. These two are driving him crazy. Klahadore gave the group a harsh glare. The three boys began shaking and they quickly ran over to Nami, hiding behind her. What are you doing? Don't hide behind me, she shouted. You will all leave, Immediately, ordered Klahadore. The group walked away quietly as they left the garden, dragging Aya away. "This is not over. You hear me? You butler punk," she screamed angrily. "This is not over," Klahadore smirked. Inside Kaya's room, she was sitting on her bed, holding her pillow crying. She couldn't stop thinking about what Klahadore said to Usopp. Then the sea-foamed-eyed girl appeared in her mind as her angry face burned into her memory. "Are you kidding me? You're the boss, aren't you? Why are you letting him do this to you? He's supposed to take orders from you, not the other freaking stupid or freaking dumb?" Kaya felt her chest began to grow hot as she grew angrier. She gripped the pillow tightly with her fingers. Who does this girl think she is? She doesn't know what she's been through. She can't possibly know how she's feeling. How dare she? Kaya's eyes widened in shock. Where did that emotion come from? She never felt anything like that before. Could she possibly envy that girl? Suddenly, Kaya heard a knock on the door. Kaya knew who it was and stayed silent, not answering. The door opened and a cart wheeled in that carrying food and tea for her as Klahadore entered. "Time for your meal, Miss Kaya," said Klahadore, softly. "I don't want it," mumbled Kaya, refusing to look at him. Klahadore sighed. "It'll break the chef's heart to hear you say that. They're trying very hard to come up with food that make you healthy," he said. Then he picked up a tall pot filled with warm milk and poured it into a teapot. "Why did you say that to him?" said Kaya. Klahadore stopped what he was doing and looked at the young girl. "It was my fault that I saw him without your permission, but you didn't have to take it that far," she said. Klahadore stared at the girl sadly and set the pot down on the cart. "May I sit?" he asked, calmly. "Go ahead," said Kaya. Klahadore walked over and sat down on the side of the bed. "It's been 3 years since I've arrived at this house." Kaya looked up and she gasped when she was that Klahadore's shoulders shaking as tears began to build up in his eyes. "I've never forget that day. I used to work on a ship, but they fired me because I did not complete my work. I walked and I walked until I arrived at this village. At the time, I didn't have a job, I didn't have any money, and I almost died of hunger. But your father helped me. He saved my life. And you are his most precious daughter. I know that it's not good to get involved in your personal life too much. However, I cannot find the heart to trust that boy, because if anything was to happen to you, how can I face your father, who took me in?" He covered his face with one hand and his lower lip was trembling, starting to burst into tears. "I know that I was too hard on him. Are you angry at me?" he asked. "It's not like that," said Kaya. Klahadore turned to her. "I am very grateful for everything you've done for me, Klahadore. But Usopp is not a bad person," she said. Klahadore stood up and adjusted his glasses. "It doesn't matter if he's good or bad," he said. "Klahadore, you really are a narrow-minded person," shouted Kaya. "Yes, I am," said Klahadore as he turned his head to Kaya, smiling. Kaya smiled in return. In an open road in the middle of a field, Zoro, Nami, Pepper and Carrot were sitting next to a fence. Nami noticed that Luffy and Aya weren't with them. "Hey, where did Luffy and Aya go?" she asked. "Who knows, they've probably gone after that captain," answered Zoro. He rested his back against the fence, sitting on the ground with his arms crossed, resting his head on them. "I bet he's at his secret spot," exclaimed Pepper. "Yeah, over by the shore. He goes there when he needs to think." "Wanna go see if he's there?" asked Carrot, as he looked at the swordsman. "It's fine," said Zoro. "Luffy can take care of himself, Aya too," said Nami. "Wonder where Onion went?" asked Pepper, seeing that he had been gone a long time. Suddenly, the group heard screaming and saw Onion running towards them with a look of horror on his face. "Terrible news, guys. Listen to me," he screamed. "Here he comes," said Carrot as Onion ran up to them. "There's a guy in his way here, but he only walks backwards," he shouted. "You liar," said Pepper and Carrot in disbelief. "It's the truth," shouted Onion. Then he pointed down the path. "Look, there he is." Everyone looked to see a man moonwalking towards them, getting closer. He stopped and looked at them. The man had long gray hair, wearing red heart-shaped glasses, a dark blue hat and jacket, olive green pants and gloves, and tall white socks and black shoes. "Hey, who told you that I'm weird? I'm not a weirdo. I'm just an ordinary run-of-the-mill hypnotist," the man exclaimed. A hypnotist? Asked Onion in awe. Awesome, do something, asked Pepper excitedly. What? What makes you think I would do anything for certain strangers? Fine, then, said the man as he pulled out a ring holding it in front of him. Why didn't he just say that in the first place? Zoro questioned to himself, giving the man a suspicious look. Look at this ring closely. On the count of Django you'll be in a deep sleep, said the hypnotist as the ring began to swing left and right. 1, 2, Django. The three boys fell backwards lying on the ground fast asleep, including the hypnotist as well. Who is this freak? Exclaimed Zoro. On the edge of the cliff near the shores, Usopp was sitting with his legs crossed watching the waves, as he listened to sound of it as the waves crashed onto the beach. It was calming for him. He liked to think that it was his father was talking to him, comforting him. Usopp was so lost in his thoughts that he didn't notice Luffy was hanging upside down in front of him from the branch of the tree. Hi, shouted Luffy excitedly. Usopp jumped back, startled. What are you doing here? Asked Luffy. I came here to be alone, but I guess that's not happening, said Usopp as he frowned. Did you follow me? What do you want? Oh, nothing. Luffy lets go from the branch and started to walk on his hands until he fell forward landing on his face. Ouch, that hurts. We actually came to check on you, a voice called out. Usopp turned and he let out a startled scream and nearly fell back seeing Aya sitting next to him. Luffy giggled. Don't do that, shouted Usopp as he felt his heart racing, trying to calm down. Aw, you nearly gave me a heart attack, Aya laughed. Sorry, we wouldn't want that, would we? Aya laughed. Usopp frowned. What do you want? He asked. Are you okay? Asked Aya. I can't believe that butler, insulting my old man like that, mumbled Usopp. Yeah, he was a jerk, said Aya. Yeah, I hate that guy, too. No matter what anyone says, Usopp was a great pirate, said Luffy. Usopp smiled as he felt enthusiasm rush through him, hearing about his dad. Yeah, really, I've always looked up to my old man, for always putting his life on the line. He made a brave choice and I admire him for that. That stupid snotty butler stomped all over my pride. He's going to pay for that, said Usopp. Hey, wait, do you know if you'll ever see that girl again? Asked Luffy. I don't know. I'll consider it, if that butler apologizes to me for what he said, answered Usopp. You mean that butler right there? Asked Aya as she pointed down below them. It was Klahadore, but he wasn't alone. Yeah, that's the one. Usopp's widened in shock and he immediately ducked down, pulling Luffy and Aya down with him. What in the world is he doing down there? He exclaimed. The three listened in on the conversation between the two. He's talking to some weird guy, said Luffy. I've never seen him before. Who is he? Questioned Usopp. Django, I told you not to attract the attention of the villagers, but you slept in the middle of the street, said Klahadore, strictly. Don't be stupid. I did not attract any attention, said the hypnotist. Klahadore frowned and adjusted his glasses. I assume everything is going as planned? He asked. Of course, we can start anytime. We could kill the girl now, said Django. Luffy, Aya, and Usopp cringed as they gasped in shock. Can't kill her, stammered Usopp. What are those guys talking about? Questioned Luffy. Just be quiet. Maybe if we listen a little closer, we'll find out, said Usopp. We can't simply kill her. It is very critical that you make it look like that Miss Kaya perishes in an unfortunate accident. So don't screw it up. Klahadore sighed as he frowned at the man's stupidity. So, you want me to make it look like an accident, to kill the little rich girl? When YCE, we'll all get paid, right? You moron, your ignorance is outstanding. We're not related, so how can I inherit anything from her? Klahadore growled. Now listen closely, before you kill her, you need to make Lady Kaya write her will. And it will say I will leave my entire fortune to my butler, Klahadore. He said with an evil smirk and sinister look in his eyes. Usopp gasped as stared at the terrifying man before him. He couldn't believe it. They were really going to kill Kaya. Then and only then will I have assumed control over her fortune. I've spent my entire life gaining the trust of everyone around me, so that it would be unsurprising of her to leave her entire inheritance to me. Just make it quick, said the butler. That's funny coming from you. You don't think that you're perhaps going soft, Captain Kuro? Django snickered. Klahadore shot him a glare. Never call me that again. I abandoned that name years ago, he scoffed. When you told me that you didn't want to be a pirate anymore, you got one of your crew to act like a double for you to make it look like Captain Kuro was executed. But, after all this time, here you are alive and well, under everyone's suspicion, posing as a butler, said Django as he laughed. Some butler you are, murdering an entire family just to get what you want. Hold on, I haven't murdered an entire family. The father's death wasn't planned. Whatever you say, it means no difference to me. The crew have been awaiting your orders for over a week. They're itching to scratch their claws, said Django, eager to get started. Up on the cliff, Usopp was completely in shock as his body was shaking. He clenched the grass tightly with his hands. This is horrible. This is really horrible. I officially don't like this guy, murmured Aya to herself as she glared at the butler. What they talking about? Is it bad guy stuff? Asked Luffy. Usopp looked at the straw hat with disbelief. Aya sighed. What? Were you even listening to that? Those guys aren't just bad, they're evil. Captain Kuro is the most dangerous and devious pirate around. He's known for his smarts and legendary brutality. The Marines captured him and executed him a few years ago. But, Captain Kuro is alive and well, and he has his diabolical sights set on Kaya's fortune for the last 3 years. First, they'll attack the village. Then they'll kill Kaya, explained Usopp. He imagined the villagers being brutally slaughtered by the pirates and Kaya's horrified look on her face as she let out a blood-curdling scream as a pirate brought his sword down on her. This is bad. This is seriously bad, said Usopp as he gripped his head tightly, trying to get rid of the thought from his mind. We won't let that happen. We'll figure something out. They don't know that we've heard everything, so we got the element of surprise on our hands, said Aya as and tried to reassure the long-nosed man. Luffy looked at the two as they were whispering to each other, then back towards the 2 men below them and stood up. Hey, get down, they'll see you, hissed Usopp as he grabbed Luffy's hand, trying to pull him down. Before the two spotted him. Hey bad guys. You better stay away from that girl, screamed Luffy out loudly. The 2 men looked up, seeing the 3. Aya sighed. Well, there goes our element of surprise, she murmured to herself, turning her head, frowning at Luffy. I hope you're proud of yourself. Your way is boring, said Luffy. It's called having a plan, dumbass, Aya whispered, harshly. They've spotted you. Get down, hissed Usopp, panicking. Klahadore smirked. Well, now if it isn't, Usopp, he said in a harsh and cold tone of voice. Usopp screamed. Ah, now, I'm spotted too. Did you hear anything? Said the butler in a deadly tone. No, nothing at all. We just got here. We didn't hear a peep. Nothing at all. Usopp stammered, nervously, panicking even more. We heard it all, said Luffy. Usopp smacked the Straw Hat captain on his shoulder. Shut up. Kuro sighed. He looked at Django, giving him a signal. Well, if you say so, said the hypnotist as he brought out his ring. Pay attention, brats, and watch this ring closely. He called out to the 3 as he began to swing the ring sideways. Luffy leaned in, looking closer, interested, becoming entranced. Okay, he said. Usopp and Aya tried to pull him back. Don't you get it? It's some kind of weapon. We got to run, exclaimed Usopp. On the count of Django, you'll be in a deep sleep. Are you ready? Said the hypnotist as he began counting. 1, 2, Usopp and Aya leapt for cover as he began counting. Run for cover, shouted Usopp. Django, shouted Django. Luffy's eyes suddenly began to feel heavy until he fell asleep standing up. Django fell backwards, leaning on the butler. Django, you idiot, I see you're still falling asleep on the job, said Klahadore, frustrated as he tried to push the hypnotist off of him. Then Luffy suddenly began to teeter as he leaned dangerously over the edge of the cliff. Hey, be careful, you're going to fall, Usopp called out. But, it was too late, as Luffy had fallen over the edge. Luffy, shouted Aya. Luffy crashed on the bottom, landing on his head with a hard crack. He fell down. With that height, no one could survive that fall, said Django as he looked at Luffy, who was not moving. Usopp clenched the grass tightly with his hands in horror. This can't be happening, they killed him, he's really dead. Don't worry, he's not dead. Luffy's like a cockroach, he's hard to kill, said Aya. Usopp looked up at her with disbelief. How can you be so heartless? That's your brother down there. Did you not see what just happened? Nobody can survive a call from that height, he shouted. What about the others? Shall I take care of them? Django asked. There's no need, said Klahadore. Django, tomorrow, at daybreak, prepare to attack the village. Above all, make sure that Kaya's death looks accidental. He finished as he smirked menacingly at Usopp. Tea tomorrow? Usopp stammered. Klahadore smiled, grinning from ear to ear. Face it, nothing that you can say or do to warn the villagers of this impending tragedy. Usopp stared at him in shock until Aya placed a hand on his shoulder. Go. I'll stay with Luffy, she said as she pushed him away. But, are you crazy? You're just going to get killed as well, just like him, shouted Usopp. My brother's not dead, said Aya, not moving from her spot. Usopp shook his head, grabbed Aya's arm. We have to run, come on. Aya shrugged his hand off of her and gave Usopp a cold stare. He froze. No, you go. Warn the others, get their help. But, I'm staying, said Aya. I can't just leave you here to go, roared Aya. Usopp screamed. He quickly turned around and ran off. Aya looked down, seeing the butler and the hypnotist walking away, glaring at them as they did. Then she glanced over at Luffy, who was still not moving. The things that you put me through, idiot, she muttered under her breath as she began to climb down the rocky cliff. Usopp ran through the woods as fast as he could, heading towards the village. I can't believe it, everyone is in danger, everyone that I know and love is going to be slaughtered. And Kaya is going to be killed. I can't let that happen to the people I love. An image of Kaya appeared in his mind, smiling. He remembered the times that he and Kaya spent together, him telling her stories, and her beautiful laughter and smile. Then a pair of sea-foamed eyes appeared in his mind as Aya appeared as well. And not her as well. I can't let that happen. Tears began to fall down his face like waterfalls as he continued to run. Damn it, in the field, Zoro, Nami and the three kids were waiting for Usopp to return along with the twins. As they waited, they heard the birds tweeting harmoniously in the sky. All seemed peaceful. However, Zoro couldn't help but feel that something was off. A sense of dread flooded through his entire body as it sends chills down his spine. Our captain's been gone for quite a while, said Carrot, breaking the silence. Yeah, Luffy and Aya, too, said Nami. He probably just needs some time, Zoro dismissed. Whenever he gets really upset like this, you can count on him being at the shore, said Pepper. Suddenly, they heard the sounds of footsteps and looked up to see someone running towards them. It was Usopp. Captain, the three kids called out to him. He ignored them, as if he didn't see them, and continued running, heading straight towards the village. Hold on. Where are Luffy and Aya? I thought they were with him? Questioned Zoro to himself. He frowned. Why weren't they with him? Did something happen to them? Zoro's thoughts began to drift off as Aya appeared in his mind. He was getting a bad feeling that something had happened. Zoro let out a tired sigh. What have they gotten themselves involved in now? Hey, where's Luffy? Is he still at the shore? Asked Nami as she called out to Usopp. But he didn't answer her. Wow, he looks really upset. But why? Is he still mad at the butler? Said Nami. Who knows? Zoro shrugged. That wasn't just a mad face, said Carrot. That looked like a face of sheer desperation, added Pepper. Zoro stood up looking at the three kids. Why don't you guys show us the way down to the shore? Asked the swordsman. The three kids ignored him as they huddled around in a circle, whispering to themselves. This sounds like an adventure to me, said Carrot. Yeah, something happened at the shore, said Onion, excitedly. Zoro growled in frustration. Enough already. How do we find this place? As Usopp made it to the village, he was panting hard, trying to catch his breath. He still couldn't believe that this was actually happening. As he gathered his breath, Usopp took in a deep breath and began screaming at the top of his lungs. Pirates! Pirates are coming! Everybody run! Run! Come on, they're going to attack the village. We gotta get out of here. What are you doing? Run! Is anyone even listening to me? Ruunn. Suddenly, he heard the doors from the houses open and he signed in relief. One by one the villagers came out, but with weapons in hand. Usopp's smile dropped. Alright, Usopp. We can't take it anymore, said a villager. We're putting a stop to this here and now. For your own good, said another villager. No, it's not like that. It's the truth this time, I promise, said Usopp as he quickly tried to reason with them. They all glared at him with irritation. Stop it. We all know that you're nothing but a liar, shouted a villager. Klahadore told us. Why should we believe anything that you say? Said another one. Everything you say comes out with lies. Usopp backed up as they began to inch closer towards him. He looked at them with horror on his face as realization hit him in the chest as it began to grow tighter. Oh no, this is exactly what Klahadore was counting on. He knew that everyone won't believe me, thought Usopp to himself. At the mansion, Kaya squealed happily as her friend Mary handed her a gift that he got from his travels. He was a tall man with a lamb-like appearance. His hair was white and curly with 2 lamb horns sticking out the top of his head. He handed the young a purple case with a pair of glasses inside of it. Are these to your liking, miss? I had it made to your exact specifications, said Mary. It was quite a trip to get them. Thank you. It must have been quite a trip to get those for me, said Kaya as the man handed the case over to her. She took it and smiled. I can't wait to see the look on Klahadore's face when he sees these. It's been almost 3 years since he arrived here. He's always have taken such good care of me, she said. He'll be delighted to receive such a gift, said Mary as the two talked to each other, smiling. Back at the village, Usopp tried to reason with the villagers. Please hear me out. Everyone, our lives depend on it. Listen to me, pirates are going to attack the village in the morning. He pleaded. Please believe me, we don't have time. I'm not lying this time, I swear, don't you get it, they'll murder you all. They stared at him angrily. You're lucky that we don't murder you, shouted a villager. Suddenly, they began to advance closer to Usopp. He gritted his teeth and took off running. I'm not lying, shouted Usopp. The angry mob of villagers chased after him. Get him! Don't let him escape! Usopp ran towards the only place, to the only person, who he hoped would believe him, Kaya. At the shore high on the cliffs, Zoro, Nami, and the 3 kids were looking around trying to find the twins. But they were nowhere in sight. This is the place, said Pepper. Our captain always comes here alone to think, said Carrot. I don't think that Straw Hat guy is here, said Pepper, worried. I don't see that creepy lady either, said Onion. Zoro frowned as they looked around. Nami walked over to the edge of the cliffs looking at the bottom. The rocks sure are loose here, she murmured. Nami, be careful, said Zoro. As Nami looked closer, she spotted something and gasped in horror. Look, down there, she shouted. Everyone quickly ran over to where she was and saw the 2 twins. Luffy! Aya! Shouted Nami. Hey, it's them! Exclaimed the 3 boys. Zoro let out a sigh in relief when he saw Aya, but frowned when he saw that Luffy was not moving. Aya looked up and saw them. It's about time you guys showed up. What took so long? She said. Everyone quickly rushed over to the 2 twins and gasped as they saw the state that Luffy was in. He was not moving, one might assume that he was dead. Luffy, what did you do? How did this happen? Shouted Nami in disbelief. He fell, said Aya, bluntly. And how in the world did that happen? Exclaimed Nami. She narrowed her eyes at Aya in suspicion. Don't look at me. I didn't do this. Some freak with a ring did something to him, said Aya. Suddenly, everyone went quiet as they heard loud snoring. They looked down to see that Luffy was sleeping. Wait a minute, said Zoro as he smiled in relief. You lazy bum. I've tried everything to try and wake him up, all except for one thing that usually works, said Aya to herself. What's that? Questioned Zoro. Aya smirked. You'll see, she said with a twisted smile on her face. Then she put the top of her finger in her mouth and wet it, then bent down and plunged it into Luffy's ear, giving the Straw Hat Captain a wet willy. The group cringed. Luffy let out a loud squeal as he quickly sat up, wiping his ear. He turned glaring at Aya with a look of disgust on his face. What the hell? Exclaimed Luffy angrily. Gross, you know I hate that, Aya, you jerk. Well, look who's finally up, said Aya smirking. Did you have a nice nap, Sleeping Beauty? Outside of the mansion, Usopp was panting hard as he tried to catch his breath. He had managed to escape from the angry mob that was chasing him. He only had one thing on his mind, and that was to warn Kaya. Usopp removed the block from the hedge and climbed through. Kaya was sitting in her bed reading a medical book when a rock hit her window. She looked up, slightly startled, and walked over to the window, opening it. She relaxed when she saw that it was Usopp. She smiled. "Usopp," she said. "I was worried that you wouldn't come back." Her smile dropped when she saw that the long-nosed man had a grim look on his face. "Run, Kaya, they're going to kill you," he warned. "Huh? Someone's going to kill me?" asked Kaya, confused. "He's tricked the entire village. Klahador's really a deadly pirate captain," said Usopp. "Is this a story? I don't like this one." Kaya frowned. "This isn't one of my stories. It's the truth. I've heard Elahador's really a pirate captain who weaseled his way into your family's home so that he can steal your fortune. He's pretending to be your butler for 3 years so that he can kill you and inherit your money." "What are you talking about, Usopp? His crew is going to take the village at dawn, and in the process, you're going to get killed. Klahador's a very bad man. You have to run. You have to escape," he said. Kaya looked at him with disbelief. "I know Klahador said some harsh things to you, but this is unlike you. Why would you say such things?" Usopp felt his heart began to break when he heard her words. She didn't believe him. "Kaya, please, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Please believe me." Back at the shore, Luffy and Aya told everyone what they have heard. "What? Pirates are going to attack the village? They're going to kill Kaya?" exclaimed the 3 boys. "Yep. That's what they said. No question about it," said Luffy, bluntly. "So, what made you think that it would be a good time for a nap?" asked Zoro. "That's the thing. I don't remember going to sleep or getting down here at all," said Luffy. "Klahador's a bad guy," said Carrot. "Usopp saw right through it," said Pepper. "I bet he's on his way to warn the village," said Onion. "Well, that's perfect. Those stupid pirates won't hurt anyone if the town's abandoned when they get there," said Nami. The 3 boys didn't hear her and took off running, leaving the group behind. "Let's head for the hills," they screamed. Usopp stared at Kaya with disbelief and a hurt look on his face. Kaya looked at him with a sad look in her eyes. "Those stories you told me, they brought joy to my heart, but they were all just a bunch of lies," she said. Her head began to feel fuzzy as she began to feel lightheaded. Her legs began to shake as she couldn't feel them. Luckily, Kaya had managed to grab onto the curtain, as she tried to retain her balance. "Kaya, please believe me. I'm not just trying to get back at Klahador," said Usopp as he tried to reassure her. "Why would you do that?" asked Kaya. "Kaya, please, The door opened and Mary walked in with a concerned look. "Miss Kaya, is everything okay up here?" He froze when he saw Usopp next to Kaya. He quickly pulled out his pistol. Usopp grabbed Kaya as he wrapped his arm around her waist. "Let's get out of here, right now," he said. Kaya tried to break free as she struggled against Usopp's hold on her but was too weak. "Usopp, stop it," she shouted. "Unhand her immediately, you villain," shouted Mary. Usopp pulled Kaya out the window and jumped to the branch, then landed safely in the ground as he carried Kaya. He placed her down, but she backed away from him, scared. "Please trust me, Kaya. You gotta get out of this village before that butler gets back," he said. Suddenly, 2 of Kaya's bodyguards, who were guarding the gate, heard the commotion and they all rushed at Usopp. Usopp fired his slingshot at them, knocking them out. Kaya watched in horror. "Stop it," she shouted. As the last guard fell to the ground, Usopp ran over to Kaya and grabbed her hand. "Come on," he said. But Kaya didn't move an inch. "I promise, this will all make sense tomorrow. But, right now, we need to go." Slap. Usopp stared at Kaya with a hurt look on his face. She had slapped him. What hurt him more than the stinging pain that he felt on his cheek was that he saw that her eyes were filled with disappointment. She looked away from him, and looked at the ground with a sad look on her face. "You're pathetic," she muttered, coldly. Usopp's heart broke into pieces as he heard her words. Then Mary appeared as he rounded the corner of the mansion, aimed his pistol at Usopp. "Leave Miss Kaya alone, you maniac," he shouted. Usopp quickly turned and ran, but Mary already had him in his sight. Kaya looked in horror as she felt her heart dropped and quickly jumped in front of his range of fire. "No," she screamed. Mary gasped as he quickly rearranged his aim, but his finger had already pressed down on the trigger. The gun fired and Usopp fell as he felt a sharp pain on his left arm. He quickly got up and gave one last look to Kaya, then ran off. The villagers were walking around the estate and Mary quickly ran over to them. "Don't let that lunatic get away." He broke inside and tried to kidnap the lady of the house, he shouted, pointing to where Usopp had ran off. The angry mob chased after him. Why won't anyone believe me?" thought Usopp as he ran. His eyes began to burn as tears began to call from his face. Kaya watched from afar, seeing the villagers chased Usopp until they were out of her sights as they ran over the hill. "Usopp," she said, sadly. She felt her whole body to numb as she lost the strength to stand, completely overwhelmed with shock. Mary quickly catches her as she faints. There, ma'am, everything's going to be fine," he said. The sun was beginning to set. Usopp was walking on a dirt path, holding his bleeding arm. He had managed to lose the angry horde of villagers that was chasing him. As he was walking, he was remembering the day that he had first met Kaya. He felt his heart began to break more as he cried. He turned and glanced at the village behind him. Tomorrow, there was going to be nothing left. The village was going to be destroyed. The villagers were going to be slaughtered by Kuro's pirates. And Kaya, she was going to be Usopp, but his lower lip as more tears came down. "Captain!" Usopp heard several voices call out to him. He looked up and saw the three boys, waving, Zoro, Nami, and Aya ahead of him. Usopp quickly wiped away his tears and his wounded arm behind his back. He smiled as he walked over to them. "Hey, how's it going, you guys?" he asked as he got closer. Then he spotted Luffy, who was standing behind the group, who beamed as the long-nosed man approached. "Hey," Luffy called out. Usopp's mouth dropped in shock as he gawked at the Straw Hat Captain, who was standing in front of him, alive and complex, unharmed and without a scratch on him. "Wait, you're alive?" exclaimed Usopp, shocked. Aya smiled. Then she noticed that Usopp was hiding his arm. She frowned in concern. Did he get injured? She thought to herself. Wait a minute. Why am I worried about him? We only just met. She quickly dropped her frown and smirked. "I told you. It'll take more than a fall to kill Luffy," said Aya. "And I had a pretty good nap," said Luffy, smiling. "He was sleeping the whole time," explained Carrot. "We better hurry and warn the people in the village, so they'll have time to get away," shouted Pepper. "Warn everyone," mumbled Usopp to Hims, quietly. His body shook as he remembered what the villagers said to him. Everyone looked at him with a worried look on their faces until Usopp suddenly starts laughing out loud. "I was lying as usual. That butler and me so mad, so I thought that I'll get him back by saying that he was a pirate." He laughed. The three boys started laughing along with him. Aya looked at Usopp with a surprised look on her face. She frowned as she stared at the long-nosed man, a little angry. What are you talking about? I was there with you. We all heard?" Just as she was about to step forward, Aya felt a hand on her shoulder and looked to see that it was Luffy. He shook his head. Aya stayed silent. Then the three boys walked away. "Hey, where are you guys going?" asked Usopp. He flinched when he saw the three boys looked at him. Their eyes carried so much disappointment and anger in them. "Honestly, you really disappointed me," said Carrot. "Even though that butler guy was a jerk, I thought that you were better than that," exclaimed Onion, angrily. Usopp looked sadly to the ground, silently. The three boys walked off, leaving the man that once looked up to and the group by themselves. Nighttime had fallen as a crescent moon shined high in the search and cloudy sky. The group were at the shore while Usopp was sitting down as Aya tended to his arm. He gritted his teeth as Aya was finishing to shove cloth around his arm, stopping the bleeding. "They're all done," she said. "That wasn't so bad, was it, you big baby?" Usopp gritted his teeth as he felt his arm throb, then looked at Aya. "Thank you," he said. Aya smiled, which made Usopp's heart flutter. "Don't mention it. Just don't make it a habit," she said as she winked. The two heard a voice cough as they cleared their voice behind them and looked to see Luffy, Zoro, and Nami looking at them. Luffy was staring at them with a blank look on his face, confused, as his eyes dart back and forth at the two. Zoro had a sinister and dark look on his face which sent chills down Usopp's back, as if he was going to murder him. Nami was smirking mischievously as she looked back and forth at Aya and Usopp, silently. "So, how come you lied to them?" asked Luffy. "Because all I do is lie. There's no way that anybody is going to believe in what I have to say." Why should they? Muttered Usopp sadly. Because what you were telling them was the truth, said Zoro. Those pirates are going to attack, right? Asked Nami. Can't you warn them? They'll think that I'm lying if I tell them. Everyone in the village thinks that tomorrow is going to be just a normal day, said Usopp as his shoulders began to shake. Then he looked up. They think I'm lying, and that's all that I need them to think. I'm going to stop those pirates at the beach tomorrow, myself. This is all my fault for being such a liar. I don't care anymore if they drive me away with brooms or shoot me in the arm. This is my village, this is my home, and I love everyone on it. I have to protect them, he shouted as he cried. Zoro smirked. You're hell of a good guy, sending your cronies away to fight the battle alone, he said. Just so you know, I called dibs on all the pirate treasures, you got it? Said Nami with determined look on her face. So you want a little help, or what? Asked Aya as Luffy cracked his knuckles, smirking. Usopp stared at them with disbelief. Why you guys, you're going to help me fight all these pirates? I don't get it, why? He asked. Well, they're a bunch of bad guys, right? Said Luffy. You look scared to take him on, added Aya, seeing Usopp's legs beginning to shake like a leaf. Usopp got up. For your information, I have nerves of steel. I am perfectly okay to take out tons of those guys. After all, you're looking at the legendary Captain Usopp, brave warrior of the seas, he declared. He felt his legs began to shake more. He hit them, trying to stop the shaking, and let out a growl in frustration. Damn it. Alright, fine, I'm scared. Who wouldn't be? They're Captain Kuro's pirates. Just leave. I don't need you laughing at me, he shouted. We're not laughing at you, we're helping you because you are honorable, said Zoro. You really think that we risk our lives out of pity? Asked Luffy, smirking. Aya smirked as she raised her fist into the air. Let's kick some ass, she screamed in anticipation. Usopp stared at her, then the rest of them, with a shocked look on his face. He began to tear up again. Thanks, you guys. In the middle of the night, Usopp, Luffy, Aya, Nami and Zoro were at the rocky slope as the long-nosed man told them of his plan. Okay, at daybreak, the pirates will be landing at this shore to begin their attack. But, the only way to get to the village is to go up this slope. The rest of the shoreline is sheer cliffs, so they'll have to come through here. If we can fight them while they're funneling through that narrow path, then their numbers won't mean anything and the village will be protected, explained Usopp. Alright, sounds pretty easy, said Luffy. Talking about it is, but it really depends on our strength. What is it you guys can do? Asked Usopp. I cut, said Zoro. I stretch, said Luffy. I steal, said Nami. I plan, said Aya. I hide, said Usopp. You're joining in on this fight, yelled all four of them. I was just joking. Calm down, said Usopp. In Kaya's mansion, the sound of the grandfather clock echoed in the hallways. In a room, Mary was dusting and cleaning until he heard the doors open and saw Klahadore walk in. Ah, Klahadore, welcome back. He greeted the butler as he was standing on the ladder, polishing the chandelier. He had told the butler everything that Usopp had said and what he had done to Kaya and the villagers. How is she? Asked Klahadore, worried. She's resting right now. She was quite exhausted, said Mary as Klahadore walked to the window, untying his tie. Klahadore sighed. Now, I have to pick up the pieces. That Usopp certainly know how to cause trouble, doesn't he? He said. Yes, and on top of everything else he's done today, he claims that you were a pirate. Mary chuckled. I can't think of more an outrageous lie. Klahadore snickered as he stared at his reflection in the window. Indeed, he sneered. Then he noticed that there was a box sitting on the table that was wrapped. What's this here? Asked Klahadore as he picked it up. Why, that's a present, of course, from Miss Kaya to you, Klahadore. It's been 3 years since you've came to this mansion. And this gift is to say thank you for your hard work. It's a commemoration of some sort, said Mary. How nice, Klahadore murmured. The glasses that you're wearing are always slipping and you have to push them back up. So the lady of the house custom ordered a new pair for you. Is she just the most thoughtful young woman that you've ever met? Said Mary. Klahadore opened the present, seeing the new glasses that were made for him. He smirked and chuckled darkly, pushing up his glasses. How appropriate, tomorrow will be a day worth commemorating, he said as he looked up at the moon. Huh? Asked Mary, confused. It's a crescent moon tonight. It's on nights like these that I feel alive. My heart races and my blood boils in my veins," said Klahadore. "Smash!" Mary gasped in horror as he saw Klahadore threw the box on the floor and stepped on the glasses, breaking it. "Klahadore, what are you doing? Why would you do such a thing to Miss Kaya's present?" exclaimed Mary. "Oh, I'll be receiving a gift all right, but it won't be glasses," said Klahadore. The butler turned to Mary with a scary look on his face. "It'll be her entire estate." "What are you saying?" gasped Mary in shock. "I suppose there's no reason to carry on the act any longer. In a few hours the village will be more than an unforeseen travesty. You won't live long to see it," said Klahadore as he began to advance slowly towards Mary. The butler pulled out a fur glove with 5 long blades. "My lady, you have to—" Mary tried to scream but Klahadore slashed him on his chest with his 5-blade claws. Mary fell to the floor as blood began to seep from his wound and onto the floor. Klahadore stared down at him with a look of glee etched upon his face. On the rocky slope, Usopp, Luffy, Aya, Nami and Zoro had covered it completely with oil. As the last jug was emptied, Usopp smirked, proudly of his work. "Yep, I'm a genius. There's no way that they'll be able to make it up this slope now. All this oil should keep them occupied, while we get to work on him. They're going to be so busy slipping and sliding in their feet, while we show up and beat the crap out of them," he said. "Wow, so that's your plan, huh?" asked Aya. "That's right, I'm going to defend the village no matter what it takes," said Usopp. "I just hope that none of us slip on that oil or we'll end up down there with them," said Nami. "Because that will be like riding into a meat grinder." Usopp cringed. "Usopp, I got to hand it to you. You're pretty good at fighting dirty," said Luffy, smiling. "Of course I am. There isn't anyone alive who can best me with a slingshot." "It's almost daybreak. They're coming," muttered Zoro. The group waited until the sun began to rise. However, no one had spotted anyone or any ships arriving. "Where are they? I've been looking to fight," whined Luffy. "The sun's up, what's the deal?" "Maybe they overslept?" asked Zoro. "No, they're going to show up all right. Lots of them," said Usopp as he nodded. Suddenly, Nami heard something and she covered her ears, listening. "Wait a minute, maybe I'm hearing things, but sounds like battle cries from somewhere," she said. "Yeah, I definitely hear them." Everyone stayed quiet and soon enough they also heard loud cries and shouts further off. Usopp, there isn't another way to get to a village, is there?" asked Aya, nervously. Usopp's eyes widened in shock in realization as he began to panic. "No, it can't be," he murmured. "What is it?" asked Zoro. "There's a shore just like this to the north," explained Usopp. "We're at the wrong shore? That's not good," shouted Luffy. "This is where they had their secret meeting, so I just assumed." "Okay," shouted Usopp as he began to panic more. "Then we need to go, now," shouted Aya. "Yeah, before they make it to the village." "Where is it?" asked Luffy. "You have to run directly north from here. If you hurry, you can make it in 3 minutes. The terrain there is almost exactly the same. So all we need to do is stop them at the slopes," explained Usopp. "Don't you worry, we're going to stop them," said Aya. Suddenly, Nami screamed. Everyone jumped, completely startled, and looked at her. "Oh no," she screamed. "If those filthy pirates are at the north shore, then they're going to see our boat. Then they'll take the treasure." Aya frowned and shrugged. "So, who cares? You can get more," she said. "I care," screamed Nami, angrily. "All right, I'll be there in 20 seconds, said Luffy as he runs off. Aya chased after him. "Oh man, my brilliant plan was all for nothing," shouted Usopp, disappointed, and he chased after the twins, leaving Nami and Zoro. "My precious treasure," whined Nami in horror. "Hey, what are you doing? Let's get out of here," said Zoro, breaking Nami out of her thoughts. Yeah, as soon she took a step, Nami slipped on the oil. She fell down and grabbed onto Zoro's foot, taking him with her. "Help, I'm going to fall." Zoro was now slipping on the oil as well. "Let go, you moron," he growled. Zoro tried to climb up but only to slope further down. Then Nami smirked as an idea began to form. She grabbed onto Zoro's sword sheaths and climbed on top of him, then leapt off, landing safely in the ground, leaving Zoro on the oil-covered slope as he slid further down. "See you there," She winked, sticking her tongue out at the swordsman. "Nami, you witch," growled Zoro, angrily. "Sorry, but you'll understand. The treasure's in danger," shouted Nami as she ran off. "That girl's going to pay," growled Zoro as he grinded his teeth together, seething in rage. Usopp ran as fast as his feet could carry him. He felt his lungs begin to ache as tried to breathe. But he couldn't stop now, not when the villagers and Kaya and everyone that he knew and loved was in danger. "I swear on my life that they'll never set foot in this village." Usopp looked up ahead of him, but he could see Luffy or Aya anywhere as he had lost track of them. "Man, those two sure are good runners. I can't even see them anymore." "Run straight north," shouted Luffy to himself as he ran. He looked behind him but saw that Aya was not with him. "Great, I'm completely lost. And now I lost Aya as well. Damn it. Which way is north?" shouted the Straw Hat Captain as he continues to run. "Those pirates are in big trouble if they take even one look at my treasure," shouted Nami as she ran as well. The Black Cat pirates had made it to the shore as they all let out loud roar and battle cry as they all charges up the slope. Suddenly, several pellets shot out came out of nowhere and hit the pirates. One by one, they were knocked back as they fell to the ground groaning in pain. "It's an ambush. Somebody's up there," one of them yelled. Django growled, annoyed, as to who would dare to face against the Black Cat pirates. He and rest of the crew looked up at the top of the slope, seeing a long-nosed man. It was Usopp. "We meet again," said Django, irritated. Usopp breathed heavily as he panted, trying to catch his breath while still aiming his slingshot at the pirates. He gulped the screamed at the top of his lungs. "I am the mighty Captain Usopp," he shouted. "I've been waiting for you, all my men and I are ready to fight to the death. Then back now, if you value your lives." His entire body was shaking like a leaf as he stared down nervously at the angry horde of pirates below him as they glared at him. "Damn! I wasn't supposed to be the first one here. They were running way ahead of me. I can't face these guys alone." Zoro was still struggling as he tried to climb out of the oil but slide back down. "Damn! Blast this stuff," he growled, irritated, as he tried to run but he got nowhere as he was running in the same spot. "The village? That can't be right. He said that if I run north then I should be at the shore," murmured Luffy, confused, as he stared at the village in front of him. Django frowned as he looked at Usopp. Usopp gulped nervously as his body was shaking, terrified, looking at the bloodthirsty pirates below him. "It's you, I remember. You're one of those troublesome brats who overheard our plan. What do you think you're doing?" asked Django in a mocking tone. "I'm warning you, leave here while you still can. If you don't, then my 100 billion crewmen will massacre all of you," shouted Usopp. The pirates gave him a skeptical look in disbelief. 100 million? Questioned one. "Are we really supposed to believe that?" growled another, angrily. "No way. 100 million? Incredible," exclaimed Django. "Captain, he's obviously lying," said a pirate. They saw through it. Usopp cursed under his breath. "What's that? You've been lying to us this whole time," shouted Django, angrily. "Captain Django, take a look at this," shouted one of the pirates as they called out. "Is it bad?" asked Django. The pirates pointed towards the two small ships. "No sir, it's good. We searched those ships and found a huge ton of treasure. It's hard to say how much, but I bet it's around 5 million berries," he said as a crewmate was holding a sack filled with treasure. Everyone gasped in shock. 5 million berries? How in the world did those guys get a hold of such much treasure?" asked Usopp, surprised. Then an idea was forming in his head. He smirked. "I see you found my loot. Well, you can have it. You're just going to let us take it? That's right, just turn around and forget all about this place and the treasure is yours," he yelled as all the pirates turned to him. "I didn't think people this stupid actually existed," said one. "He's just embarrassing himself," said another. Django tilted his hat, getting more annoyed. "Okay, so you know what a pirate is? We're going to take this treasure and there's nothing that you can do about it. And there is no way that we're turning back until we get what we've came for," he said. Well, yeah, that makes sense," stammered us opposite nervously. Then Django pulled out his ring and began to swing it side to side. "Alright then, on the count of 1, 2, Django, you're going to let us by," he said. Usopp gasped as he saw it. It's that strange weapon from before. Suddenly, Usopp couldn't help but watch as he stared at the ring as it swung left and right. He felt his feet completely glued to the spot. 1, 2, Django counted. Get down! A voice shouted. Usopp felt a sharp smack on the back of his head as someone pushed him down. My head, he whined as he held his head in pain. Oi! Who are these two? Shouted one of the pirates. Usopp groaned as he looked up to see Nami and Aya. This isn't the time to be hypnotizing yourself. We've got a mission to carry out, remember, shouted Aya. Nami glared at the pirates. That treasure is mine, and I'm not going to let you have a single berry. You hear me? In fact, you better clear out now or things are going to get bad, she screamed, angrily, threatening them. Damn it, Nami. That's really hurt, yelled Usopp. Nami looked at Usopp. Who said that you can give them my treasure? You got what you deserved, she shouted at him. I didn't give them the treasure, I just said that I would give it to them, shouted Usopp. Nami rested her staff on her shoulder. That's the same thing and I just saved your life, she said, calmly. I forgot to mention it earlier, but don't ever watch his ring that he's using. That weirdo is a hypnotist. Damn. Django cursed under his breath. Hypnotist? Asked Usopp. So where's Luffy? He took off so fast, I figured that he'd be ahead of you, asked Nami. I don't know. He either got lost or chickened out at the last minute, said Usopp as he got up. The only thing that can keep him from a fight is getting lost. Nami sighed. Usopp made his way up the slope to the two girls. I'm going to let you take command here. It's about time that you kick their butts, he said as he placed his hand on Nami's shoulder. She looked at him, a look in disbelief. Yeah, lead the way, Nami. Aya smirked, crossing her arms. Nami frowned, then looked back at Usopp. What about you? She shouted. I can't take on a bunch of vicious pirates by myself, that's just suicide. I'm a coward, he said as he pointed to his legs that were shaking. You think you're scared? What about me? Exclaimed Nami. Don't yell at him, Aya scolded. Usopp looked over Nami's shoulder at Aya. He felt his heart flutter, happy that she was helping him. He's already terrified as it is. You're not helping, Aya finished. Excuse me, said Usopp, feeling a little insulted. Nami ignored him and she turned to Aya. And what about you? I don't see you jumping in. I saw the way you fight. You can take out these pirates no problem. How about you fight them? Aya laughed as she threw her hands in the air in defense. Hey, I'm strong, but not that strong. I can't fight all those pirates by myself, said Aya, shrugging her hands. You liar. You can now get down there and kick their butts, shouted Nami, grabbing Aya by the shoulders as she struggled to push her down the slope. How about you fight them? Asked Aya. She didn't move an inch while Nami tried to get her to budge. Nami sighed in frustration until an idea popped in her mind. She smirked. If I can't get through to her, then I'll just mess with her ego, hit her where it hurts, thought Nami to herself. Oh, I see, you're too scared to fight them, said Nami as she shrugged her hands. Aya frowned as she narrowed her eyes at her. Excuse me, I don't think I heard you right, said Aya. I don't blame you one bit. I would be scared going against bloodthirsty pirates as well, said Nami. Then how about you fight them then, you chicken? Said Aya. Prove to me that you have what it takes to be a pirate, to be a member of my brother's crew. Nami twitched as she growled, angrily. I already told you. I'll never be a pirate. Aya clucked as she flapped her arms like wings, mockingly. I beg to differ, chicken, she said in a taunting tone of voice. Nami and Aya glared at each other as they got into each other's face. Guys? The pirates? Stammered Usopp. Ho girls to stop arguing, who were literally butting heads with each other. The two of them quickly turned their heads looking at him with a scary look on their faces. You stay out of this, shouted the two of them. Usopp cringed. The Black Cat pirates watched the whole feud with interest. Some of them whistled while others catcalled. Catfight, cheered one of them while some of them whistled and catcalled until Django interrupted. We don't have time for this nonsense, he said, annoyed. All right, let's get to work, he commanded. The pirates roared and began to charge up the slope towards the three. Here, they come, shouted Nami as she tensed up seeing the pirates getting closer. Then Usopp had an idea. Wait, I know, he shouted. Then Usopp reached into his knapsack and pulled out some metal spikes and handed them to Aya and Nami. Back at the other slope, Zoro was still trying to get out of the oil and was completely covered in it. He panted as he tried to catch his breath. "Nami, if you're still alive when I get out of here, I'm going to kill you," he shouted in frustration. Then an idea came to his mind. Zoro used two of his swords and stabbed them into the ground as he began to climb. Finally, as he reached the top of the slope, he made it out of the slippery mess. Without wasting any time, Zoro immediately took off running. "Now, where do I get to the North Shore from here?" he grumbled to himself as he ran. "Run straight north. Run straight north," screamed Luffy as he ran blindly into the deep forest. He looked around wildly at his surroundings. He was completely lost. "Which way is north?" he shouted. Back at the North Shore, Usopp, Nami and Aya watched as the Black Cat pirates howled in pain as they stepped on the metal spikes that were thrown all over the slope. "Yes, we've got him," Nami cheered. "Check this out," said Usopp. He pulled out his slingshot and aimed it at the pirates and fired. With accurate precision, one of the pellets hit one of the pirates in the head. "You bastard," shouted one. Nami patted Usopp on the back. "Way to go. You're quite the warrior after all," she said. "It looks like you've got this handled, so I'll just take a break." "Where do you think you're going?" shouted Aya. "But you haven't done anything yet," shouted Usopp. Nami screamed. "What is it?" asked Usopp as he and Aya turned to see why the orange-haired girl screamed. "There are caltraps behind us," said Nami, sheepishly. Usopp's jaw dropped. Aya had a look in disbelief. The two of them saw that the traps were laid behind them as well. "Idiot! You dropped those things behind us?" shouted Usopp. Then Nami saw 8 pirates came up behind Usopp and Aya with a sledgehammer. "Get out of the way!" she screamed as she tried to warn them. Aya's eyes widened and she quickly moved out of the way only to see the hammer swing down and hit Usopp as it made contact with his head. Usopp felt his ears ring and his vision became blurry as blood flowed from his head and mouth as he crashed to the ground with a thud. "Usopp!" cried Aya. The pirate smirked darkly and Nami and Aya gasped in horror. "Don't tell me that you really thought that you're going to stop us down there," said the pirate. "Let's go, fellas. Captain Kuro's waiting." Then the pirate felt something grab onto his foot. He looked down and saw that it was Usopp. "You again? Let go of me, you jackass," said the pirate. "You want some more?" He tried to shake Usopp off of him but he still latched on, refusing to let go. "I won't ever let you step foot in that village," Usopp panted as he tried to stand up. Blood ran down his face as he glared at the pirate. "All I did was lie, like I always do. Today won't be like any other day in that sleepy little town, 'cause you and your crew will never set foot in it." "Shut up. I won't tell you again," shouted another pirate as they charged at Usopp with a sword. As he was about to bring it down on Usopp, a foot connected with the pirate's face, kicking him back. Usopp looked up and saw that it was Aya as she landed on the ground on her feet. He saw that she had a scary look on her face which sends shivers down his spine. "Come at me, you cowards. I'll kick all your asses right into Davy Jones' locker," she roared out. A pirate charged at Aya from behind but she threw her fist back and punched him in the face. Another pirate came at Nami with a sword and she tried to block it with her staff but she was pushed back. Nami fell to the ground. She grunted in pain as she felt the hard ground connected with her back. "Nami!" shouted Aya as she tried to dodge a swing from the pirate that was wielding the hammer. "I would be more worried about myself right now," shouted a pirate as he and another pirate who came out of nowhere, catching Aya off guard. They charged at her from behind. Aya's eyes widened as she felt herself being pushed back and she collided with side of the slope. She groaned in pain, then looked up and glared up at the pirates who was smirking darkly at her. Then she began coughing violently, covering her mouth with her hand as she did. As she pulled her hand away, Aya saw a small amount of blood. "Damn it!" she cursed under her breath, still coughing. "Aya!" Usopp called out to her, worried. Suddenly, the pirate with the hammer slammed his weapon down on Usopp again, knocking him to the ground. His face connected with the ground as he did. The pirates laughed until Django silenced them as he spoke. "We've wasted enough time playing pirates, quit bothering with them and move to the village," he shouted. Or have you forgotten that this is Captain Kuro's operation? He doesn't look favorably on anyone who's late, especially a bunch of idiots, do you understand? The crew shuddered at the thought. They quickly charged up the slope heading towards the village. Don't go any further, said Usopp as he tried to stop a pirate as he grabbed onto them. I said stop, don't take another step. Get off me, shouted the pirate. He kicked Usopp off of him, knocking the man back onto the ground. Don't kill them, just leave this village alone. They're good people, they don't deserve this. I love them, thought Usopp to himself. Tears began to fall from his eyes running down his cheeks. Suddenly, the pirates were knocked back as they flew, falling down the slope. Usopp gawked at the sight of it. Django and Nami had a look of surprise as well, wondering who could have done such a thing. Aya looked then smirked at who she saw, Luffy and Zoro. What took you guys so long? She asked. What is this, Captain Django? Shouted a pirate. Nobody told us that killers like those are going to be here, shouted another. Django had a look of fury and irritation on his face. It's about time, mumbled Nami. Is that the best that those pirates can dish out? Asked Zoro as he looked down at the black cat pirates who were laid out at the bottom of the slope with a disappointed look on his face. Yeah, I was hoping for a challenge, said Luffy, disappointed as well, as he stretched his arm. And you, after leaving me down there, you're lucky that I go after you too, growled Zoro as he glared at Nami. Then Zoro drifted his gaze over to Aya. He frowned as he saw her coughing violently. Damn, she's having an attack, thought Zoro to himself. You just going to sit there or what? Said Zoro in a mocking tone of voice. I thought that you were better than this. Aya blushed, feeling embarrassed. Luffy tilted his head seeing Aya. What are you doing sitting on the ground? Why are you getting your ass kicked around by these guys? He asked. He noticed her coughing and his eyes widened in worry. Are you sick? Why didn't you tell me? He shouted. Shut up, I'm fine, she shouted as she coughed. It's just dust, you know what it does to me. Oh, okay. Well, hurry up and get over here already, shouted Luffy as he smiled. Zoro raised an eyebrow at Luffy, giving him a look in disbelief. So he really doesn't know, he thought to himself. Then Aya reached into her pocket and pulls out her medicine, up and brushed herself off. Usopp, you big bonehead. You never told me which direction is north, shouted Luffy, angrily, as he glared at Usopp. Django stared at the two with a skeptical look. Who are these guys? He asked. Outside of Kaya's mansion, Klahadore was sitting on the stairs waiting. He growled in frustration, wondering what was taking so long, then stood up and grabbed his bag and walked off, heading towards the north shore. However, Onion was watching nearby as he hid behind a tree, seeing the butler. It looks like the butler from Kaya's mansion, but it's so early in the morning, why is he walking to the shore? He asked himself. He frowned in suspicion as he saw the butler walking off. Django and the rest of the Black Cat pirates stood still, completely stunned, looking at the Straw Hat captain and swordsman. The two had knocked out almost an entire crew with one fell swoop without even batting an eye. Well, it's about time. Aya smirked. Usopp's body began to shake with excitement. He had never seen anyone that strong before. Wow, that was great. You guys are really that strong? He asked. Luffy nodded. Could you have been slower? What took you so long? Nami shouted, irritated, making Zoro growl. He narrowed his eyes at the orange-haired girl. You're the one who pushed me down that oil slick so you could get out, he shouted, angrily. It was an accident, I slipped, you fell. At least one of us made it out of there. That's better than both of us being stuck at the bottom, Nami said, calmly. That should have just been you, Zoro snapped. Run straight north, he said. I mean, that's just great. How am I supposed to know where north even is out here, huh? Luffy shouted at Usopp. Shut up. You're the one who ran off so sure of himself, Usopp shouted. Luffy looked at Aya. She stood up and brushed herself off. And you, why did you run off ahead without me? Luffy shouted. You got lost in your own, idiot. That's your own damn fault. Don't blame me, Aya shouted back at Luffy. Usopp looked at the two twins in bewilderment as they argued and squabbled back and forth, throwing in a few insults at each other. Django looked up at the blue sky, realizing that they were now late. The sunrise is high in the sky now, and that means that Captain Kuro is getting very impatient. He shivered at the thought of Kuro, angry. Django turned to the crew as a few started to get up. Men, don't just lie there. You're just going to let them win? They're just a couple of idiots. In that case, we don't have the time to lollygag around here. If our enemy is strong, then we must become stronger than them, he said as he pulled out his rein. The Black Cat pirates listened to Django as they stared deeply at the rein as it was swinging back and forth. Now, stare deeply into this rein. Once I count 1, 2, Django, you will grow stronger. Your wounds will heal and you will grow stronger still. Django said as the entire crew fell deeper into his chant. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp and Aya watched in confusion. So what is he doing? It looks weird. Luffy asked. Usopp and Zoro nodded their heads in agreement. It looks like hypnosis. He's trying to convince them that they're stronger than they are, like that will work, Zoro scoffed. Actually, it worked on Luffy. That's how he ended up on the bottom of the cliff, Aya added. Wait, you mean? Zoro's eyes widened in alarm. 1, 2, Django. Django finished. Suddenly, all of the Black Cat pirates began to let out an inhuman roar and one punched a cliff as it crumbled to the ground like it was nothing. No way! Nami exclaimed, shocked. Zoro, Usopp and Aya watched, stunned at what they had witnessed, as well. What the? One guy just completely destroyed the cliff. Now that's what I call power, Zoro exclaimed. I always thought that hypnotism was a bunch of crap, Nami said. That was just one of them. Imagine what a whole crew can do, Usopp exclaimed. Now go. Destroy everything that gets in your way, Django ordered. The crew cheered as they charged towards the group. Hey you guys, you might want to move. Luffy, Aya and I will take things from here, Zoro said. Usopp and Nami did so, as they said behind him while Aya walked up to Zoro and Luffy. Aya stood next Zoro but she noticed that there was something off about Luffy as he was just standing there, not moving a muscle, with his hat down, completely covering his face. Luffy? Aya asked. Suddenly, Luffy let out a loud roar, like a raging animal. Then he charged towards the group of pirates that were advancing up the slope. Zoro watched in disbelief while Aya frowned as she slapped her forehead. "Aw great, don't tell me that freak hypnotized you two," Zoro exclaimed. "Just what we needed, a simple-minded idiot," Aya murmured. "What is he doing?" the Black Cat pirates exclaimed. Luffy was charging straight towards them. They screamed and ran away. But, Luffy runs past the group as they looked in confusion. He wasn't going after them, he was after something else. Django flinched when he saw Luffy was running towards him. But, the Straw Hat captain passed him as well. "What is he doing?" Zoro asked. Luffy ran up to the Black Cat pirate's ship and grabbed the figurehead of the ship, pulling roughly on it. Luffy let out a yell and the ship's figurehead was ripped off. "That's right. Tear it down," Nami cheered. Zoro watched in disbelief at Luffy's strength. "He's going to destroy our ship," one of the pirates exclaimed. Luffy looked back at the crew members with a menacing look on his face holding the figurehead, getting ready to swing it. "Oh no, he's going to charge us with it. Everybody run," one of the Black Cat pirates exclaimed. They ran from Luffy in fear as he was stomping towards them carrying the figurehead. "Django, do something," another crew member shouted. Django pulled out his ring, swinging it back and forth. 1, 2, Django. You will fall asleep, he shouted. 1, 2, Django. Suddenly, Luffy stopped, his head dropped. He fell forward, bring the figurehead down with him, scattering the pirates and Django. Luffy fell to the ground with a thud, falling asleep, with the figurehead on top of him. Meanwhile, the Usopp pirates were gathered together, standing in a field, as Onion explained to them what he had seen. "What? You saw Klahadore heading to the shore?" Pepper asked Onion, who nodded his head. "Yeah, and he had this weird scary look on his face," Onion said, shivering, remembering that look on Klahadore's face. "What about Kaya, is she okay?" Pepper asked, worried. Onion nodded his head in agreement. "The Usopp pirates are going to find out," he said. Onion and Pepper looked and saw Carrot, who was snoring loudly as he slept. "Carrot, will you wake up?" Pepper yelled. Carrot would up immediately, rubbing his eye. "Come on, it's way too early for this," he groaned. "This is no time for laziness. Horrible things can be happening right now," Pepper shouted. He and Onion helped Carrot up and the three boys began to run, heading towards Kaya's mansion. Pirates are going to attack the village. I know that Captain Usopp said that it was a lie, but I think he was the one who was lying. I think he was trying to protect us, Onion said. Yeah, you're probably right, Pepper said. It was weird. Yesterday, he wasn't acting like his usual self. Carrot said in agreement as they ran faster towards Kaya's house. As the three boys made it to the mansion, it was eerily quiet and there were no guards at the front gate as well. Where is she? Pepper asked. The three boys went over to the side of the mansion to a hedge where Usopp had a secret door to get in. Captain Usopp always comes through here, said Onion. They tried to pull the block out from the hedge, but it was completely sealed in. It's useless. The thing's stuck, said Carrot. Let's find another way, Pepper said as they ran off to find another way in. In Kaya's room she was jerking and twisting around in her bed as she was having a nightmare. She saw Usopp standing over her as he held a sword. His face had a dark and menacing scowl as he pointed the sword at Kaya. Woman, how dare you try to make a fool out of the great Captain Usopp? Insulting me for having the blood of a pirate, he growled. Kaya shivered as she looked up at Usopp in fear. Her heart thumped wildly in her chest. This is not the Usopp she knew. He wouldn't do this. Usopp would never hurt her, would he? Why you don't have to do this, Usopp, Kaya pleaded. What are you waiting for? Kaya heard voice called out. Her eyes widened when she saw a twisted version of Aya with long wavy hair that looked like tentacles and sharp pointy teeth. What haunted her the most was the luminous green glow from Aya's eyes. She watched as Aya walked in Usopp. Aya smirked evilly as she looked down at the scared girl. Kaya's eyes widened as her breath hitched in the back of her throat as she saw Usopp kissing Aya. She felt her heart drop as she watched the two of them kiss. Stop! Kaya cried. She could take it anymore. Not like this. Not with him. Please stop. You're pathetic. Aya scoffed in disgust. Kaya flinched. She looked up at Usopp, pleading, hoping that he would help her. Usopp. Please. I love. Usopp raised his sword above his head. I don't need you, he said, darkly as he brought the sword down on Kaya. No, she screamed. Kaya gasped as her eyes shot open as she sat up in the bed. She tried to shake off from what she had experienced. She stood up and slid on her slippers, putting on her tan coat, and exited her room, walking down the hallway heading towards the servants. She stopped in front of the door. Klahadore, Klahadore, are you there? Kaya called out. She received no answer. Hello, Klahadore. Kaya opened the door and she was met with a horrified sight as she saw Mary lying on the floor, bleeding in a puddle of blood. No, Mary! Maya screamed as she rushed over to him, shaking his shoulder. Mary, what's going on? What happened to you? Please wake up, Mary, please don't die. She saw Mary open his eyes and she smiled in relief. Her smile dropped when she saw tears in the man's eyes. Oh, thank goodness. You're still alive. I was worried, Mary said, weakly. He struggled as he tried to sit up but fell back down. Mary, Kaya exclaimed, worried, as she tried to help him. You have to tell me who did this to you. Klahadore, that's who. He attacked me, Mary cried. He's a pirate, he's never been anything else. How can that be? Kaya said in disbelief. He got close to you just so he could steal your fortune. That's all he ever wanted. Mary explained to her sadly as tears ran down his face. Kaya shook her head. No, there was no way Klahadore would do this. He wouldn't. It can't be. No, you're lying, Kaya yelled, angrily. I'm telling you the truth, Mary shouted. Kaya stared at the man with wide eyes. For as long as she had known him, Mary was never the type to raise his voice. Then, what Usopp spoke yesterday was the truth, Kaya said, quietly. That's right. And that is what's most tragic. When he learned the truth, he tried his hardest for us to hear him out. But, we were all too shallow-minded to listen to a single word. Mary said as more tears ran down his face. We drove away the only person who cared about the safety of this village, including you and I. He coughed. Kaya stared in horror when she saw blood come out of his mouth. Someone, anyone, help. Mary needs help, she screamed. Kaya received no response as the mansion was dead with silence. Mary shook his head as he sat up and laid his back against the wall. No miss, it's no use. The entire staff is on leave. No one had been here since yesterday. Kaya trembled as panic started to build up in her chest. What can she do? She had never done anything on her own before. Then I'll find someone, Kaya mumbled, quietly. You cannot get caught in this. The attack has yet to begin. So be calm and think clearly what it is that you have to do next. Because if Klahadore is the thief we understand him to be, then his goal is your fortune and mansion. Then by all means let him have it. None of this worth sacrificing your life over. Mary said, firmly. Kaya nodded, feeling more calm as she heard Mary. Yes, she said as she wiped away her tears. It's the cruel truth, but you are the only one who can stop Klahadore now, Kaya. Mary said in a serious tone of voice. Can you do it? I know this is not your burden, but still I must ask. Yes, I understand and I will do it. This isn't a situation that I can run away from. Kaya said bravely. I know what consequences I have to face. I will find Klahadore and I will finish this. Mary stared with a stunned look on his face. Back with the Usopp pirates, the three boys were trying to climb the fence, but the bars were too slippery. They see the door open, someone coming out of the mansion. Oh no, someone's coming out, Onion hissed. The three boys quick hissed as they watched to see who it was. Kaya. It's Kaya, she's alright, Pepper exclaimed in relief. Kaya was wearing a long tan coat over her blue gown and boots, walking away from the mansion. Looks like something's got her really bothered, Carrot said. Yeah, walking around all by herself doesn't seem right, Pepper said. Something is going on, something really weird, Onion said. The three boys followed after. Back at the shore, the Black Cat pirates were scattered all over, lying on the ground. Nami cheered, seeing the Black Cat pirates defeated. She supported Usopp over her shoulders, helping him. Looks like those guys are probably down for the count, don't you think? Nami asked. I guess. Zoro said. Maybe, but Luffy is still trapped under that cat. Just look, Usopp called out. Aya smiled. Relax, he's fine. You should really be worried about your injuries by the looks of it, she said. Damn, that little brat. Now our whole plan's been shot to hell. What are we going to do with this mess? If Captain Kuro sees this, he'll kill us. Django gritted his teeth as he got up. Butchie, come check this out. There's some bad stuff going down, a voice called out. What the hell? Another voice shouted. I forgot we still have our trump card. Django smirked. Come forth, Mioban brothers. Two shadows dart out of the Black Cat pirates' ship as they kneel down in front of Django. Yes, Captain, did you call for us? A scrawny man with a hunched back with green hair and cat ears asked. Well, did you? His companion beside him asked. He was an overweight man dressed like a black and white cat, also wearing a cape and a collared bell. Siam, the hunched green-haired man shouted. And Butchie, the overweight man answered. And together, we are the Miaoban brothers, at your service. Butchie, Siam, we must get up this shore. If you'll be so kind as to remove this obstacle immediately. Django explained to them as he ordered the two to attack. Zoro, Usopp, Nami and Aya watched the three pirates, wondering what they were up to. Siam looked at Zoro, who had a scary look on his face. He backed away in fear. No way. We couldn't do that. He looks too strong, right, Butchie? He panicked. Oh yeah, he's strong, way stronger than us, Butchie agreed. We just guard the ship, not fight people, Siam said to Django. He's right, we're really not the best to put into battle, Butchie said. So, they're a couple of pansies. I guess they're not the trump card after all, Usopp said in relief. I'm not too sure about that, Aya said. Siam, just do it already, Django growled. Annoyed, he grabbed the green-haired man, pushing him towards the group, threatening to kick him. What, me? Siam said. Okay, I'll go, just stop yelling. The guy's crying like a baby. What are they doing down there? Nami asked. The two cats ran up the slope heading towards Zoro and Aya. I'm a vicious killing machine and I'm coming for you, Siam shouted. Come any closer and I'll cut you in half. I'm not joking, I'll do it, Zoro threatened. Siam smirked. Not likely, he said. Zoro's eyes widened and he quickly pushed Aya back as she fell to the ground. Aya sat up as she turned towards the swordsman. Hey Zoro, what the hell did you do that for? She growled angrily. Her eyes widened as she saw Zoro clash blades with Siam with his sword. He's fast, Aya thought to herself. If Zoro hadn't pushed her out of the way, Siam would have attacked her, instead. Bastard. Zoro growled. Too bad. Siam smirked. It seems you fell for my little ruse. He jumped away, standing in front of Zoro. Are you missing something? Not that I would know anything about it. Siam teased. Zoro looked down and saw that two of his swords were gone at his hip. He looked back and saw Siam holding his other sword and his treasured white sword. Give me my swords. Your swords? But you already have a sword. How greedy can you be? Siam said. Say goodbye, swords. Goodbye. Then he tossed the two swords far away from out of Zoro's reach and they slid down the slope, stopping halfway. Damn it! Zoro growled angrily as he tried to run after them. But Siam stopped him and started attacking Zoro repeatedly as he slashed at the swordsman. He was moving so fast that Aya couldn't keep track of him. Zoro! Let me help! She shouted. No, just watch those two morons and make sure they don't do anything stupid. Zoro shouted as he tried to block Siam's strikes. Suddenly, Siam managed to pin Zoro down on the ground as he pounced on top him. Butchie, you're on. Get in here, Siam called out. Zoro looked up with wide eyes as he was the large man jump in the air and was now coming down fast on top of him. Zoro! Aya cried out in alarm. Get out of there. At the last minute, Zoro managed to break free from Siam's grasp and rolled out of the way just as Butchie crashed down on the ground, creating a crater as he did. Damn, Butchie. He got away from you, Siam said. He's right there. Now hold him tight this time, Butchie said. Careful, he's strong. Stronger than I thought he'd be even without all of his blades, Siam told him. This is getting worse by the second. If Tubby landed on me, I would have been pounded into dust. Zoro thought to himself. I'll get him for sure this time, shouted Siam. You got that right, Butchie shouted. One sword technique isn't really my forte, but what the hell? Zoro said as he got up and got into a fighting stance. Let's go, Butchie, shouted Siam. Right, Siam, let's do it, Butchie shouted. This isn't good. They've got him on the defensive, Nami said. She looked and saw that Usopp has pulled out his slingshot. What are you doing, Usopp? Nami whispered as she asked the sniper. There's no way that Zoro can stand his ground while he's blocking their attacks. I'm going to help him, Usopp said as he closed his eye, lining up his shot at one of the car pirates, attacking Zoro. Take this, Usopp shouted. No, don't get involved. I had tried to warn them but it was too late. Usopp had already fired. Zoro looked and saw that Usopp had fired at Butchie. He moved into the line of fire, taking the hit. Instead, the two black cat pirates saw their chance and slashed at Zoro's chest, creating on an X mark as blood gushed from the wound. You're supposed to shoot at the bad guys, you idiot, Nami yelled. But I did. It was like he moved in front of my shot on purpose, Usopp explained. Then why would he do that? Nami asked, stunned. Zoro clutched his wound as he looked back, yelling at the three. You dumbass, don't help me. Do you want to die? He was protecting us, Aya said. Nami and Usopp looked at her. If you actually hit one of those guys, they would have come after us instead. Nami and Usopp gulped as they looked back at the two pirates that was fighting Zoro. They wouldn't have stood a chance if Usopp's attack actually had hit one of them. What a guy. And all this time he was worried about us. Usopp mumbled, watching Zoro struggling as he fought with only one sword. We need to get his swords back to him. It's the only way that he'll stand a chance against those freaks. Aya whispered to the two. Nami stood and got up. Aya and Usopp looked as she did. I'm going to get the swords. If I can get them back to Zoro, then there's no way he can lose, she said. Let me get the swords, Usopp said, but Nami shook her head. Don't push yourself. You can barely even stand up on your own, she said. I'll be fine. Nami winked. She climbed down and ran past Zoro and the two pirates heading towards the swords. But, just as she reached them, a foot stepped on the swords. Before Nami could do anything, Django used his ring to cut Nami's shoulder. Nami fell to the ground with a thud. Nami! Aya and Usopp shouted. What do you need swords for? Django smirked evilly and the girl lying on the ground. He turned his head back up the slope. Someone was standing at the top. Django's face warped into pure fear as he let out a screech, Klahadore. Butchie and Siam stopped their attacks and backed up shaking in fear seeing Captain Kuro. Zoro frowned and Aya as well, not happy to see the butler. Usopp's body began to shake as he hid, not happy to see Klahadore as well. "No, I'm sorry. I can explain all of this," Django explained nervously. Kuro pushed up his glasses with the palm of his hand. "The night has long since passed. Why is it that you've made no progress on the plan?" he asked in a deadly tone of voice. All of the Black Cat pirates, who had now woken up, were shaking in terror. "See Captain Kuro. No, he'll kill us all. It's all over," Usopp muttered, gravely. Kuro scanned the area seeing the state of everything and everyone around him. "Zoro, Nami," he frowned seeing Aya and Usopp, then glanced over seeing some of crew lying on the ground and the ship partially demolished. Kuro pushed up his glasses as his face twisted into pure rage. "What the hell is going on?" Django, Siam, Butchie and all of the Black Cat pirates cowered and shivered in fear as they looked up at Kuro. The man gave off an intimidating aura as he stood at the top of the slope. He glared furiously at the crew with intense rage. No one moved a muscle as they stood frozen in their spots. Zoro felt a shiver as Kuro laid his eyes on him until the butler turned his gaze towards Usopp and Aya. Usopp quickly hid behind the girl, his legs were shaking as he clenched his fists. Kuro broke the silence as he spoke. "To think that these brats held you back. How the Black Cat pirates have fallen," he muttered, dropping his bag to his side. It fell to the ground with a thud. He pushed up his glasses with his hand and narrowed his eyes at the hypnotist. Veins appeared on his forehead and Kuro took in a deep breath. "What have you got to say for yourself, Django?" he roared, furiously. Django flinched. "I thought you said that these kids would be no problem?" he stammered nervously. "I did say that. What's your point?" Kuro snorted, pointing his finger at Usopp, while still looking at the hypnotist. "He's an idiot. But, the one thing that I hadn't taken account for, was your inexcusable weaknesses," he shouted as his body began to shake with anger. Sir, we're not weak. It's just that." Django stuttered. He was cut off by Siam. "You're the one to talk, Captain Kuro," Siam shouted. "Yeah, what have you been doing for 3 years?" Butchie shouted. Zoro glanced over at the two cat pirates seeing them bare their claws threateningly as they snarled at Kuro. "Very good, are you finished?" Klahadore asked, calmly. "No, you've done nothing this whole time," Siam shouted. "There's no way you can beat the Mioban brothers," Butchie shouted. Then the two charged at Kuro while Django tried to warn them. "Do these guys have a death wish?" Aya murmured to herself. "Don't, Butchie, Siam, stop." Django ordered for them to stop, but they didn't listen and still ran towards Kuro. Siam moved his arms to form an X, getting ready to strike at Kuro. Butchie raised his claws to slash. Kuro quickly grabbed his bag and tossed it into the air. "You're not our captain anymore," Siam shouted, still charging. "We're going to kill you," Butchie added. As the two got closer to Kuro, he began to move his feet, tapping lightly on the ground, moving at a fast pace. Siam and Butchie grinned wildly as they got closer and slashed at Kuro. But, instead, the bag was shredded in Kuro's place. Kuro had vanished without a trace. The two looked around wondering where he had went. Zoro stared, stunned, by the man's swiftness. Then Kuro appeared in front of him, standing behind Siam and Butchie. He was wearing furred gauntlets on his hands with long blades extended on each fingertips, like cat claws. How the hell? Where did he? What are those crazy weapons? Zoro muttered. Siam and Butchie stood in shock. Who are you going to kill? Kuro asked as he crossed his arms. The duo tried to attack again, but Kuro disappeared again. Django watched as he gritted his teeth, sweating nervously. Siam and Butchie looked around, staying on their guard, trying to find Kuro. Suddenly, Kuro appeared behind them, trapping Siam and Butchie with his claws as the blades caged dangerously close to their faces. Neither of them moved a muscle as their bodies began to shake and tremble, nervously. You're right, I'm not as fast as I used to be, Kuro said darkly, making the Miaoban brothers cry. Nami gasped. He's handling them like babies, and those two nearly defeated Zoro, she thought to herself. Django began to sweat more. You're very lucky. I'm feeling somewhat merciful. Maybe, these years on dry land have made me soft? I'll give minutes. If you can't deal with the situation here, within 5 minutes, then I'll kill every last one of you. Now have I made myself clear? Kuro said, and to everyone's surprise he lets the two go. Why yes, of course. That's perfectly clear. Thank you for being so forgiving. All we have to do is take care of this one guy. That's all? Django pointed at Zoro. Nami got up and walked over to Zoro's swords. Zoro! She screamed as she kicked them to the swordsman. What the? Django exclaimed. Hey, idiot! You can't just kick him. Those are my swords, Zoro yelled. How about a thanks? Nami exclaimed. Zoro threw his sword up and caught both hilts of the two swords and placed the white sword in between his teeth. Appreciate it, he mumbled and turned facing the duo. It doesn't matter how many swords you have, Siam exclaimed. Even if you have all three. We're still going to kill you, Butchie shouted. The two raised their claws and charged at the swordsman. Zoro braced himself as they got closer. You still don't get it, he said. In an instant, Zoro swinged his swords forward, slashing the Miaoban brothers. They fell to the ground with 3 slash marks on each chests at Django's and Nami's feet. The clock is ticking, Kuro said, still unfazed. Carrying 3 swords won't help you at all unless you know 3 swords style, Zoro said in satisfaction as he smirked. The entire crew, Django, stood completely stunned seeing the duo fall. Usopp watched in shock and amazement at the swordsman's strength, Nami, as well. Aya's body shook, excitedly, and she raised her fist in the air as she cheered. Usopp jumped, startled by her reaction. Way to go, Zoro! Aya shouted, you kicked their asses. Oh no. This is bad. Django muttered. He took out the Miaoban brothers with one attack. Zoro turned to Kuro pointing his blade at him. Don't worry, I can promise you, everything will be taken care of in less than 5 minutes, he said as he got into a fighting stance. Django felt something grab onto his ankle and looked down to see Butchie. Please, Captain. Hypnotize me. Butchie moaned as he could barely lift his head. Still alive. You do sloppy work, Kuro commented. Zoro glanced over to the two. He froze in shock as his sword dropped from his mouth. Django had hypnotized Butchie and he was now standing as if Zoro's attack hadn't even scratched him. He was bigger and stronger. Butchie stomped the ground creating a crater. Butchie! Kill him! Django ordered, smirking. Butchie let out a loud roar and started advancing towards Zoro. What? Really? You're back for more? Zoro frowned. This guy means business. If it wasn't enough trouble with his size, Django just had to psych him, he thought to him. This isn't good, Usopp exclaimed. Aya gritted her teeth then looked over where Luffy was. Now's my chance. I have to wake that lazy jerk, while I still can, she thought to herself. Aya stood up and Usopp looked up at her as she walked over to the edge of the cliff. Hey wait, where are you going? Usopp asked. I'm going to wake up my idiot brother, Aya said as she climbed down the slope. They're going to see you, Usopp called out as he tried to warn her. Aya. Django looked up where Usopp was as he heard him call out, then he looked behind him to see Aya running over to where Luffy was. What is that girl up to? Something tricky, I'm sure, he murmured. Everyone's fighting for their lives and he's just sleeping, Aya growled as she ran. Wake up, she screamed. Django pulled out his ring and threw it, sending the projectile flying towards Aya. Zoro's and Usopp's eyes widened in horror seeing the flying heading towards her, the twin. Aya! Look out! Zoro screamed. Dodge it! Quick! Usopp screamed. Aya looked back and gasped as she saw the flying projectile heading towards her. As she took a step to stop and to try and duck the object, Aya had accidentally stepped on Luffy's face. Luffy instantly woke up as he grabbed her too, making Aya fall backwards to the ground. Aya, you cannot just go around stepping on people's heads, he shouted angrily. As he finished, the ring flew right to Luffy's mouth as he caught it with his teeth. No, how is he still alive? Django exclaimed. It's either the best timing of the worst timing in the world. I can't tell, Zoro thought to himself in relief. Nice to see that you're up, finally. Luffy bit down on the ring, shattering it, but it also cut the side of his lips. Ooh, he screeched in pain. That brat's back in the battle, one of the Black Cat pirates exclaimed. That hurt, you jerk. Why'd you do that? Luffy shouted angrily as he looked down at Aya. I didn't do that. It wasn't a me, idiot, Aya shouted, pointing at Django. He did. Django flinched as Luffy looked up at him, and he glances over at Nami, seeing her hold her shoulder. His eyes widen. Hey, what happened to Nami? Luffy questioned. That punk hurt her while she was trying to get Zoro's swords. Aya told him. Luffy clenched his fist as he narrowed his eyes, setting his sights on Django, and he began walking off, heading up the slope. The Black Cat pirates immediately moved out of the Straw Hat captain's way. Luffy, where are you going? Nami asked. Nami, stay where you are. Luffy muttered as he walked past her. I'll be right back. Nami watched as he started heading up the slope. Now's my chance to get some treasure while they're distracted, she thought to herself. Django saw Luffy heading towards him, and he turned to Butchie. Butchie, kill him while there's no time to waste. Kill that three-sword bastard and I'll take care the freaky kid, he said as he looked back to Luffy pulling out another ring. Coming for you, Straw Hat, he murmured as he tried to throw the ring at Luffy. The Straw Hat charged at him. This is for my friend, you jerk, Luffy shouted angrily as he threw his fist back and punched Django dead center in the jaw, sending the man flying back onto the ground. You bastard, Django groaned as he sat up, holding his cheek. Time's up, you know the deal, now die, Kuro said as he uncrossed his arms. Hey wait, why is that shady butler here? Luffy asked, noticing Kuro at the top of the slope. It's that kid. Didn't he die falling off a cliff? Kuro asked in surprise, seeing Luffy. He was getting ready to move until he sensed someone coming up from behind him. Usopp looked and his eyes widened in shock, and he let out a sharp gasp seeing who it was, Kaya. He immediately bolted, heading straight to Kuro. Don't ever sneak up on me unless you want to die, Kuro snarled as he turned around, raising his gauntlet to strike. Kaya! Usopp exclaimed in horror. He jumped in the way, wrapping his arms around Kaya, using his body as a shield as Kuro slashed his claws on Usopp's back. The two fell as Kaya landed on the ground with a thud while Usopp was on top of her. Kaya groaned and blinked as she opened her eyes and gasped when she saw Usopp lying on the ground. No, Usopp, are you okay? She asked, worried. Kaya, what are you doing here? Usopp asked. Kaya turned her head away as she looked down in shame. She bit her lip as she remembered herself slapping him. Her heart clenched in her chest with guilt. Usopp, I'm so sorry. I don't know how you'll ever forgive me. I just couldn't believe it, that Klahadore is a scheming, murdering pirate. Never mind that. Why are you here, Kaya? Your life's in danger. I told you to run somewhere safe. Usopp shouted at her. Kaya bursted into tears. I won't. Not while you're fighting. I won't run. Look at you, you're barely alive but you're still fighting. I couldn't, she yelled. Usopp looked at her stunned. Kirk stared with wide eyes, seeing Kaya. Miss Kaya, this is no place for a lady, he said, softly. Please leave. Kaya froze, hearing his voice. She gritted her teeth as anger began to boil inside of her. She turned to him. Please, stop. Don't do this. Kaya shouted. Stop this right now, Klahadore. Kuro stared at her with hurtful look on his face. Kaya stood up as she glared at the butler. I know what you're up to. Mary had already told me about everything, she said. What's the girl from the mansion doing here? One Black Cat pirate asked. The whole reason that we're here is to murder that little rich girl, said one of the pirates. If she's here, then we don't have to go to the village, another one said. All we got to do is kill her, right? One asked. What did you just say? Aya growled. The pirates flinched as she cracked her knuckle. They began to tremble as the twin had a scary, twisted smirk on her face. I don't believe I've heard you right. Why don't you say that again, to my face? She asked, menacingly. Neither said a word. That's what I thought, Aya said as she walked over to Luffy. Klahadore, please, if you want my fortune, you can have it, take it all and leave this village right now. I'm begging you. I'll gladly accept your fortune, Miss Kaya, thank you. But I want more. You see, simply acquiring it isn't enough, Kuro said. Kaya stared at him confused as he continued. He made a sickening smile as he adjusted his glasses. More than else, what I want is peace. You want peace? Kaya stuttered, confused. Yes, just peace of mind. It's simple really. I have spent the last 3 years earning the trust of the entire village, and to be honest, I find this new sense of peace of tranquility quite comforting. When my plan comes to fruition, I will live with the sublime peace of mind. Kuro said as he remembered the villagers' smiling faces as they looked at him and playing with the children. Yes, the glorious comfort of a peaceful life will be mine forever and ever, he continued and smirked evilly. In short, these pirates are coming. And you will leave your fortune to me and die, Miss Kaya. And it will happen, Kuro said with a frightening look on his as he pointed his claw at Kaya. She stared in disbelief. And no, it can't. It can't be, Kaya muttered. She reached her hand into her coat. Usopp grabbed Kaya's foot. Run away, Kaya. There's no use talking to him. Please get out of here, he shouted. Don't do anything stupid, Aya whispered under her breath as she and Luffy watched. Then Kaya pulled out a pistol from her coat and aimed at Klahadore. Aya sighed. Like that, she muttered. Why, you're not Klahadore. No, you're not, Kaya shouted, aiming the pistol at Kuro. Usopp stared at Kaya in shock, seeing her with a weapon. Her hands shook and trembled as she held the gun in her hands. Kaya. Kuro started to come closer to the girl, but Kaya raised it, threatening, still shaking. Leave here, right now, never come back, she shouted. Oh, you point a gun at me? Look at you. You can barely hold it, you're trembling. Kuro replied, completely unfazed by Kaya's threat. Stop it, just leave. Go, Kaya screeched angrily. Yes, I see. You're all grown up now. Such much has happened in the last 3 years, Kuro said, softly, removing his glove. Kaya's eyes softened and she lowered the pistol slightly. Miss Kaya, don't you remember the things we've been through? We've spent so much time together. A year before your dead sweet parents passed away, you were more than my master. You were my best friend. So much time. So many memories. Together we rejoiced. Like family. Kuro stared at her with a sweet smile. Klahadore. Kaya teared up, lowering the gun a little more. I took you out shopping in the city. I looked after you when you were ill, and we used to talk for hours and hours. He spoke as Kaya cried with tears running down her face. Kuro walked closer to her. Kaya, listen to me. I was devoted to you. For so long, for so really long. He continued until he was standing in front of Kaya. Kuro reached out and took the gun with his ungloved hand. Kaya saw his smile drop as it twisted into a sickening smirk. I endured it. I quietly suffered so that today I can end your life and take everything that I deserve. Kaya stared in shock with tears ran down her face. Biting her lower lip, she let go of the gun and Kuro dropped it to the ground. I, who was once the feared and respected Captain Kuro, and to how and humble myself before some short-nosed little girl. It went against every fiber of my being, Kuro said while Usopp shook on the ground, seething in rage as he looked up at him. Damn you! Usopp gritted his teeth, glaring at Kuro furiously. Do you understand the insults? Can you understand the rage created at the transgression of my pride? Aya clenched her fists. Luffy noticed and he looked over at her. His eyes widened to see her face twisted with fury. He blinked. Hearing enough, Usopp dove after the gun, picking it up. He stood up, aiming it at Kuro. Kuro! Usopp roared. Just as he pulled the trigger, Kuro quickly moved out of the way as he vanished, then moved behind Usopp. Thank you for reminding me, Kuro said. He raised his claws, trapping Usopp's face inside, like a cage. Kuro smirked. Usopp, I owe you for hitting me. He pulled the bandage off from his cheek. Let's get even. Oh no, Usopp, Kaya cried as she covered her mouth. Aya frowned. I've seen enough of this, she thought to herself. Aya gestured Luffy to come closer and he did, and she whispered in his ear. Luffy's eyes widened and he made a big wicked grin, shaking his head excitedly. He picked her up and began spinning Aya as his arms stretched, going faster and faster until he let go, launching Aya. Zoro's eyes widened as he saw Aya flying towards him, and he quickly ducked as she flew past him. If I recall, you hit me as hard as you could, Kuro finished, getting ready to strike Usopp down. Suddenly, a foot was slammed into Kuro's face. His glasses shattered and broken. Kuro was knocked back as he fell and tumbled to the ground. Everyone gasped and stared in shock and awe. Zoro's mouth dropped slightly, nearly dropped his sword. Usopp looked up as Aya landed on her feet, staring at her completely stunned. Kaya as well. If you hate getting hit that much, you're about to have a really bad day. Aya smirked, crackling her knuckles. Luffy laughed as he threw his head back. An eerie silence fell, as Kuro laid on the ground, not moving. The Black Cat pirates, Usopp, Kaya were stunned as they looked at the girl and the Straw Hat captain who dared to go against the legendary murderous pirate. Zoro smirked. As Kuro laid sprawled out on the ground, his glasses were completely shattered. He shot a nasty glare at the twin who was standing in front of him with a smug smirk on her face. "I know you're awake. Quit playing possum and fight me, you coward," Aya shouted. Kaya looked at Aya, still completely stunned by the girl's strength. Suddenly, there was the sound of footsteps as they ran closer. Kaya looked and saw the three boys with weapons in their hands. "The Usopp pirates have arrived," the three boys exclaimed as they jumped in the air and slammed their weapons on Kuro's face. Aya's mouth dropped, surprised to see them. "Oh no," Usopp shouted. "Stay away," Kaya shouted. "No, stop it," Usopp shouted as he tried to get them to stop, but they didn't listen. The entire Black Cat pirate crew went pale with a horrified look on their faces. "Those kids, what are they doing?" Django shouted. "Those rugrats have a death wish," Zoro muttered. "You don't know what you're doing. Stop, stop," Usopp yelled. The three kids stopped as they panted, trying to catch their breaths. "All right, this time we'll let you off without any more brutality," Pepper said. "This time," said Onion. "Now, those stupid kids really done it. Captain Kuro is going to be so mad," Django shouted. Usopp tensed up. "Captain," the three boys exclaimed as they ran over to him. "I knew you were still fighting," Carrot said. "That was totally awesome," Pepper shouted. "I thought there were no secrets between us pirates. Why didn't you tell us?" Onion shouted. "That's right, we're supposed to tell each other everything," Pepper shouted. "Who cares about that? Look, this is important. You guys got to get out of here," Usopp ordered the three kids, but they refused to move. "No way." Carrot shook his head. "Yeah," Pepper agreed. "We have to stay and fight with you," Onion shouted. Then Kuro began to stand up. The three boys froze with fear as they saw the scary look on his face. Kuro pushed up his glasses, but it shattered some more. He frowned and turned to the kids with a dark look. The three boys screamed and their eyes bugged out as Kuro began walking towards them. "Idiots! Don't scream. Run!" Usopp yelled. The three boys continued to scream as Kuro advanced closer towards them. But he walked past them, heading towards Usopp and Aya. Usopp's whole body shook as he got closer. Then Kuro stopped right in front of Aya, glaring directly at her. Aya smirked as she stared back. "That hurt," Kuro growled, angrily. Aya laughed. Kuro gritted his teeth, seething with rage. "How pathetic. You can't even take a hit," Aya snickered. "I'll teach you to mock me, girl," Kuro shouted as he swiped at the twin with his claws. Aya ducked and placed her hands on the ground, and she threw her leg up as she backflipped, kicking Kuro in the face, again with much force, knocking the butler back down to the ground. Usopp gaped up at Aya until something shiny gleamed in his eye. He looked down and saw a coin with a broken chain lying on the ground and picked up, looking at it. "What's this?" Usopp murmured softly as he inspected it. His eyes widened when he saw that it was a pirate coin. But it wasn't just any pirate coin, it was one of the 9 pieces of 8. "How the hell did you get this?" Usopp gaped. Aya turned to Usopp and her eyes widened, seeing that he had her coin. "Hey, that's not yours, give it back," she shouted. Kuro smirked and charged at the twin while she was distracted. Zoro's eyes widened. "Aya! Look out!" he shouted. Aya quickly turned to see Kuro right in front of her face, with his claws raised, getting ready to strike. Aya gasped as the claws came down on her. There was no way she can dodge it in time. "Luffy, do something!" Zoro shouted. "Damn it, I won't reach her in time," Luffy shouted. "Aya!" Aya gritted her teeth, bracing herself. But the blow never came. Aya was pushed out of the way by Usopp. Kuro slammed his foot, kicking Usopp in the gut, knocking him back. "Captain!" the 3 boys exclaimed. Usopp, Kaya, Luffy and Aya shouted. Luffy turned to Kuro, glaring furiously at him. He clenched his fists tightly. Aya ran over Usopp and bent down, placing her hand on his back. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Why yeah, I think so. Usopp groaned as a wave of pain hit him. He looked up at Aya, relieved to see that she was unharmed. Then why in the hell did you do that? Aya shouted. What were you thinking? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Usopp groaned. His body ached all over. He looked up at Aya, seen looking down at him worried. I don't know. My body just reacted on its own. I had no time to think, Usopp said. Kaya watched the two as she clenched her hand to her chest, biting her bottom lip. Kuro turned to her, then looked back at Aya and Usopp. He smirked. Usopp, can't you see that you're causing Miss Kaya grief? Kuro said. Usopp and Aya looked up at the butler angrily. Why, by the looks of it, it looks like she's jealous by the mere sight of you and that girl together. Kuro laughed and turned to Kaya. Isn't that right, Miss Kaya? Kaya's eyes widened. And no, you're wrong, she stammered as she shook her head. Kuro made a twisted grin. Am I? Then why are you glaring at that girl then? He questioned. It's not. I'm not. Kaya's eyes drifted over towards Usopp and Aya. Her heart started to ache seeing them. She looked down, clenching her fists. Don't you shut your mouth, you jerk, Aya shouted. Kaya looked up, staring at Aya. She doesn't have to answer you, Usopp's my friend and I'm going to pound you for what you did to him, she shouted. Kuro snorted, looking at the twin. You're so quick to defend her, he smirked. Aya growled. Kuro continued. You certainly didn't waste no time to rush over to that fool, he finished in a taunting tone. You are going to pay for this, Aya growled, angrily. Kuro smirked, then turned his head towards Luffy. That's quite a strange technique you've developed there. Tell me something, do you have powers from eating the devil fruit? He asked. Yep, I'm a rubber man. Luffy smirked, taunting him. The Black Cat pirates stared at the Straw Hat captain with fear as their bodies trembled. He ate the devil fruit, they exclaimed. It makes complete sense now. I didn't hallucinate his arms stretching out like that. Django muttered. Kuro kept his eyes on Luffy until he spoke. Django, the hypnotist flinched as he turned to Kuro. Sir, he asked, nervously. I can handle these two brats. You take care of Miss Kaya, like we've planned. Have her write her butler into the will and kill her. Kuro said as he brought his claws together. As for the kids, they're an eyesore, eliminate them. Kaya and the kids flinched. Usopp gritted his teeth, angrily. I'm on it. Before Django could take another step, Zoro pulled out his sword, blocking the hypnotist. Stop right there. If you want to make it to them, you'll have to make it through me first, Zoro threatened. Butchie, Django called out. The big cat pirate jumped high into the air, roaring as he came down. Die, not again, Zoro muttered as he dodged the attack as Butchie came down. The cat pirate slammed his foot into the ground, creating a crater, making the earth tremble. As the smoke started to clear, Zoro barely had time to block, as a claw came out from the smoke to strike. Zoro blocked it quickly with his katana, but Butchie pushed Zoro back until the swordsman's back was against the wall of the cliff. Zoro used his sword to push the large pirate to keep him at bay. Usopp watched, completely stunned by the cat pirate's strength. That guy. He's crazy, Usopp muttered to himself. Then he saw Django walking past him heading up the slope. Oh no, Kaya. Usopp struggled as he tried to stand up, but he fell back down. Stay away from her, no. Usopp pirates. Usopp OYS were startled but answered him. Yes, sir, I need you to listen to me carefully. The three boys frowned as they gritted their teeth in anger. Look, we're not running, Carrot said. Not after he did to you, Pepper said. We'll avenge you, Onion shouted. Protect Kaya, Usopp shouted. The three boys' eyes widened in surprise. Don't argue with me. Do as I say, this is the most important task there is, right now. It's absolutely critical that you succeed. Take Kaya and get her away from here. Just keep her safe. This is the reason that we wanted to be pirates. To protect what's dead to us, so do as I say and run, Usopp finished. The three boys were on the verge of tears, as well as Kaya. Usopp, she mumbled softly. Usopp smiled, trying not to cry. Now go, that is in direct order. Yes, Captain, the three boys cried. They quickly took Kaya and ran towards the forest. He's sure got away with words, making running away sound brave. Zoro thought to himself. Kuro frowned, noticing that Django hadn't moved. Django! He snapped. The hypnotist pulled out 2 rings, spinning them. Yeah, I'm on it. Those fools, to think that they can escape me. Before Django could take a step, he was hit painfully in the back by a small pachinko ball. Usopp smirked as he panted, holding his slingshot. Gotcha. Damn you. Django shouted, turning towards Usopp. He's not your priority right now, Kuro yelled. Django flinched. Yes, sir, the hypnotist replied. He quickly ran off, heading in the direction of the forest, where the kids and Kaya ran off. Their attempts to escape is futile. We know all too well how weak Kaya is. There is no way they can possibly escape Django. Though, if you want to help them, go ahead. But, first you have to make it up this hill alive, Usopp. Kuro smirked, looking at Usopp. Luffy and Aya glared at the butler. Butchie, Kuro ordered the cat pirate to finish off Zoro. I guess listening to me once wasn't enough. I told you to get out of my way, you giant tub of lard. Zoro shouted. He kicked Butchie on the shin and sliced through the cat pirate's chest. Zoro tossed his swords into the air and held out his sheaths, letting his swords fall into them. Butchie fell to the ground, defeated. Alright Zoro. Aya cheered. Zoro smirked. Suddenly, there was a loud crash in the forest, making everyone look. Usopp tried to get up but fell back down, again. Kuro smirked. That is the sound of destruction. Django's probably tearing the place apart. Go ahead, see for yourself or you can get up. He taunted. Usopp growled in anger and disgust. You heartless bastard. Don't you even have a shred of pity? You lived with her for over 3 years, he yelled. No, I told you, Kaya is nothing more than a pawn in a game that I intend to win. Which instead, then I'll be grateful to her. Kuro replied, coldly. Usopp gritted his teeth, furiously, as he glared up at the butler. This guy's hopelessly evil. Zoro commented. I've heard enough. Aya frowned. We should out him out of his misery. Luffy said. Hey, Usopp. Go and find the others, don't worry, we'll take care of this guy, he called out. Usopp tried to move as he struggled to stand up once again. Every muscle in his body screamed in pain as they twitched as he moved. Eventually, he managed to stand on his feet, ignoring the pain that radiated throughout his body. Oh, very impressive. You can still move, Kuro said, bluntly. Shut up. You won't get away with this. I won't let you. You betrayed the villagers' trust. Not to mention that you planned to take the life of a sweet young girl. This is the last time that you'll ever get your way, Usopp said as he took a step. But, pain shot up his leg and Usopp fell back onto the ground. Usopp! Aya exclaimed. Luffy and Zoro watched in worry. Can't move. It hurts so bad, I can't move. Damn it. Usopp mumbled. Kuro laughed seeing Usopp on the ground. You really are a riot. So I betrayed them, you say? Oh please, grow up. That was all part of the plan. A village liar who plays with local kids have no business talking like a real pirate, he snorted. Just stay on the ground. Kuro smirked. Even if you somehow catch up to Django, he'd end your life with a blink of an eye. Staying there is what's best for you. I don't care. Usopp replied. I don't care that I'm weak. I'll protect them. I'm captain of the Usopp Pirates. A brave warrior of the seas, who fights for what he holds dear. I will protect everyone in this village even if it kills me. Mark my words, you will never set foot in that village, he roared, his voice echoing into the sky. Zoro, Luffy, and Aya watched, astonished by the young man's bravery. However, the Black Cat pirate crew snickered. What an idiot, one laughed. Check it out, he's crying, another said. They immediately went silent when they saw Luffy and Aya shot them a scary glare. What's so funny? Luffy exclaimed, angrily. I'll give you something to laugh about. Aya growled. The crew flinched in fear, neither saying a word. Luffy, Aya, Zoro called out, making Luffy and Aya turn to the swordsman. He picked up Usopp, putting him on his shoulder. Me and Usopp are going to go chase down that hypno freak, is that a problem? No, hurry. Luffy smiled. We'll take care of this punk, Aya replied. Hey, thank you. Usopp said as Zoro walked, carrying him. I'd be a whole lot faster if I was going by myself, but I don't know these woods. If we're going to catch up to them, I'm going to need your help. Do you think it's a good idea to leave those two alone? Usopp asked, worried. Luffy can take care of himself. Aya, as well, I have no doubt about it, Zoro said. Hold it, Kuro called out, stopping Zoro. Where do you think you're going? Who gave you permission to go anywhere? I did, Luffy shouted. Kuro saw Luffy's fist coming towards him as the Straw Hat Captain stretched his arm. The butler barely dodged it. Usopp. Zoro. Get going. Aya shouted. Zoro nodded to her and quickly took off with Usopp, running towards the forest. Luffy tried to throw another hit at Kuro, but his vanished, making him miss. Man, he disappeared again, Luffy growled, irritated. At least the others got away. Aya commented. Yeah, Luffy agreed. Kuro reappeared in front of the two twins, a few feet away from them. Before I kill you both, I feel compelled to ask, why are outsiders like you butting into this village's business? He questioned. Luffy smirked. Because there's a man in this village that I don't want to let down. We made a promise. Aya replied. Simple enough. Are you okay with that being the reason you die? Kuro smirked. Sure am. But we're not going to die, Luffy shouted. We're going to kick your ass all over this village. Aya shouted as she cracked her knuckles, smirking. Kuro frowned. Luffy looked over at Aya and laughed. We'll see about that, Kuro said as he got into a fighting stance. Luffy threw back his arm to throw a fist at Kuro. But the butler vanished and kicked Luffy in the face and Aya on her side, knocking them down to the ground. Luffy got up and attacked. Again. Gum Gum Pistol. Luffy shouted. Kuro dodged and stood on top of Luffy's arm. This is boring, Kuro said, bluntly. You cocky jerk, Luffy growled. Stop with this cat and mouse game and fight us, Aya shouted. The Black Cat pirates cheered as they called out Kuro's name. An angry vein appeared on his head. Shut up. Don't call me that, Kuro growled. The crew members went silent and turned pale with fear. You still don't get it, you fools. The whole plan of my demise was so that I could get rid of that name once and for all. I'm tired. To conjure up plans for barbarians who only care about havoc and mayhem. Relentlessly, attacked by government dogs and bounty hunters. I'm tired. I am sick and tired of that accursed life. Luffy and Aya gritted their teeth as they glared at the butler angrily. And when my plan succeeds today, after 3 years of planning, revising, and waiting, my goal will be achieved entirely. Will that peace of mind entirely? Do you understand now, you brats? I will not allow this perfect plan, years in the making, to fail, Kuro shouted. He turned his gaze to the two twins and charged at them. My plan will not be disrupted by you two wannabe pirates, Kirk shouted as he slashed at the two. Luffy quickly grabbed a boulder and blocked the attack as he slammed it in front of him and Aya. It would seem that you have more than just stretch, Kuro frowned. That's right, Luffy smirked as he began to crush the boulder. Aya grabbed onto Luffy's shoulders as she swung around the boulder and kicked her foot into Kuro's glove claw, breaking it to pieces. We've been toughing ourselves up to be a pirate, she smirked. And know what, if you don't want a reputation, Luffy said as he smirked, grinning from ear to ear. Kuro's eyes widened. Aya punched her fist directly into the butler's cheek, slamming him into the ground. Then don't be a pirate, she shouted.